Pirates Fire Dragon Roar Chapter 101-120. Chapter 101 3 on 3. The three people who came here have very distinctive features. The leader stands a white pigeon on one shoulder, with a grim face, and the one behind wears a peaked cap. The square-shaped long nose is particularly conspicuous. Of course, the most eye-catching is that the third person is a beautiful uniformed beauty. X23 US. Com updates fastest. These three people are naturally not others. On this island, there are only these guys who are qualified to serve as the current maids sparring. In the afternoon, Vlad's whims were quickly put into practice by him. Well, since the maid wants to progress on hockey, then the fierce battle is indispensable. And it is impossible to learn from each other. Without the battle of mind and will, it is not so easy to upgrade. So after seeing a few guys in CP9, Vlad naturally reached his idea to these people. Not to mention Khalifa, the vegetables, feet and the remaining two are all pretty decent, especially Lucci. When he didn't use the fruit ability, his Dow force value had reached 4,000 points. After using the fruit ability, this value is estimated to be still good. Doubled, he is really a strong guy. Of course, this strength is relative to the first half. Thinking about it carefully, this guy Lucci is really suitable to be a sparring partner for BABY5. He is not weak, at least it is almost impossible for the maid to defeat him, but he is not very strong, so it will not be overwhelming. The advantage of defeating the maid is really the best sparring. What the hell do you know? Rob Lucci asked, his tone unusually cold. Guess what? Vlad is still the usual hippie smile, no formality. It's really easy to attract these little CP mice. Just whisper in their ears. Hello, CP flies. These guys seem to smell when it comes to a dog that smells like shit. It will never let go. I was afraid of being exposed when I didn't contact them before, but now it doesn't matter. The ship has been basically completed, and we can go back and sail, so there is absolutely no reason to be afraid of these guys. Won't you say it? Rob Lucci twisted his neck gently and made a rattling sound. His eyes were as cold as a block of ice, and the chill in his words was like a ghost running out of the endless hell. Forget it, arrest you and torture you, and you'll say everything. Woo ha 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 ha. Hey, this is decent. Rob Lucci. Vlad laughed and said, this is decent, only fighting is the best way to solve problems. Only victory can bring everything to people. Isn't it very reasonable? As long as you can arrest us all, then all the natural information can be obtained. It's just such a simple truth. Then, Miss Maid. Vlad turned his head to look at Baby5 and chuckled, it's up to you to bring us victory. Me. The maid was a little surprised. King to king, and admiral generals are the rules of the sea. The guy who keeps pigeons on the opposite side looks like the leader of the other side, right? That's right, it's you. Vlad said, the opponent is very strong. Shaved. Lucci had never been someone who would wait for the other person to finish speaking. After all, he was an agent, not a soldier. Compared to Vlad, his slender body disappeared in an instant. Marine Rokushiki are all very practical skills. It is no joke to be able to break through the limits of the human body and reach the realm of Superman. But it's a pity. Crack. Vlad stretched out his hand at will, but in an instant, there was an extra person in his hand, and that was the body of a man. Hey, boy, haven't I finished my words yet? Vlad's tone was very bad. What are you trying to do? Marine Rokushiki is really strong, but it's actually just a weakened version of hockey. Now Rob Lucci has no power to fight back in front of Vlad, and Vlad just stretched out his hand and choked it. His throat. Whoosh. Vlad threw it smoothly and gently flung Lucci away. He didn't want to waste the man's fighting power before the battle. No, 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 no. Secretary Khalifa looked pale. That's that Lucci, the strongest Lucci in 800 years. Woo tilde. Long-nosed Kaku let out a slow sigh. It seems that there is only a death battle. You bastard. Of course, the most surprising person was Rob Lucci himself. Okay. Vlad ignored these rare and strange guys. How could these guys who have been training at Annie's lobby and occasionally go out to do missions know the vastness of the world? Miss Maid, come on, for you, this man is super strong. If you can't win, you'll have to die. We won't help. Vlad said, right, chef. Dino smiled. It's a very bad thing to interfere with your companion's battle. So go, baby 5, don't get stronger. It was the first time that Vlad called the maid by the name of the maid. Both Vlad and the maid seemed a little uncomfortable. It's just death. Ha 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 ha. Maid laughed. Stinky captain, don't look down on me too much. That's fine. Vlad smiled, turned his head to look at the three Rob Lucci with gloomy faces, and said, come on, Mr. Lucci, if you can kill this subordinate of mine, it doesn't matter if you let it go. Hey, Captain, are you looking down on me a little too much? The maid said so. Whoosh. Rankyaku tempest kick. The sharp air braking slash slammed into the maid's body, sending her flying directly. It's me who is looked down upon. Rob Lucci's voice was deep, and there was a lot of anger in it. Woo ha 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 ha. This is the beginning. Vlad laughed. Don't be too arrogant. Disrespectful people who offend justice. Of course Lucci didn't mean to obey Vlad, he just wanted to rip the man to shreds now. Boom. The huge explosion spread immediately, and the place where Rob Lucci was standing was already in ruins. Hey, bastard, you actually attacked the old lady. The maid's arm, which was blown away from a distance, turned into a huge cannon, with a cigarette dangling from the corner of her mouth, and walked back swaggeringly. Cut. Naturally, Lucci was not hurt, and he ran to the side by shaving the moment the artillery came. He looked at the woman standing between him and Vlad very badly. Are you trying to stop me? No. Maid said, I just want to kill you, or be killed by you. Then you are courting death. Shave. Lucci's body disappeared instantly. You can see it, idiot. Ohm. The maid roared, her right hand had turned into a huge chainsaw. The fierce battle of the maids has begun. Dash 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 dash. Well, chef, which one do you choose? Vlad seemed to be a little distressed, pointing to the remaining Kaku and Khalifa and asking with some annoyance. Mr. Captain, as a gentleman, attacking girls is not good after all. The chef said so. That's fine, although it feels like you're mocking me. Vlad turned his head and looked at him. Then let me be a heroic hero. There are heroes there. A rare rant from the chef. Chapter 102 Firepower. Khalifa is really weak. Among the CP9s with enough chickens, he is also one of the most chickens. The 630 Dao value is really no different from no difference, and the weak Vlad can't see it. Although this girl is undoubtedly in the middle of Vlad's strike zone, she is too weak, let alone a punch from Vlad. I'm afraid even one of Vlad's fingers can't match, too it's so delicious. Hey, beauty, here it is. Vlad put his arms around his chest and stood gently on the open space. In front of him was Khalifa, who was wielding a long whip with thorn-like barbs. Just a little movement of his feet could make this girl even her own shadow. If you can't touch it, it's really enough. Damn. Khalifa turned back suddenly. Looking at the leisurely Vlad, a feeling of powerlessness appeared in his heart. The difference in strength is the difference between heaven and earth, and he is not an opponent that he can match at all. Shaved. Khalifa stepped on her feet, and her body started to move rapidly due to the huge power that exploded in an instant. Woo, so fast. Marine Rokushiki. A lazy voice came from one side. Khalifa turned his head in disbelief, and saw Vlad, who was leisurely holding his hands and easily keeping up with his speed. Hey! Eat my whip leg. Vlad's voice was very funny. He stretched out his right leg and stopped directly in front of Khalifa. He didn't exert any force at all, just put it in front of Khalifa. Plop. Hey tilde. The high-speed movement, Khalifa had no way to control his body at all, and fell to the ground in an instant. Under the action of the huge inertia, he slid all the way out, and the majestic bust played a good role in breaking. Tisk tisk, how miserable. Vlad didn't mean to pity Shangshiyu at all, but he had the idea of gloating on misfortune, standing on the side tisk tisk in amazement. Cough cough. You are sexual harassment. Khalifa stood up with difficulty and said so with a wry smile on her face. Dash 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 dash. Although he is not skilled, the maid's observation hockey can barely perceive Rob Lucci's figure. Although his shave is fast, he can't escape the maid's observation hockey. I said I can see it. The maid wielded a huge chainsaw and slashed in one direction in an instant. If it could be cut solidly, it would be a huge opening with the strength of a normal person. But Lucci's reaction is really not cover, and he has realized his crisis in an instant. Razor. Shaving and moon step was instantly used, and a sharp trace was instantly drawn. With an angular angle, Lucci stepped directly on the air, instantly avoiding the maid's blow. Even if he could predict Lucci's movement trajectory, the maid's own quality could not allow him to use this prediction to attack Lucci in a timely manner. This was a difference in basic physical fitness. Shigen, finger pistol. Maid's chainsaw could be recovered. Lucci's attack had already arrived. Lucci, who jumped behind the maid, stabbed Shigen finger pistol directly at the maid's back. Damn. The maid gritted her teeth. Although she could feel the enemy's attack, it was too late to avoid or counterattack. She lacked too much. However, the maid is not unable to fight back. I have to say that the weapon fruit is indeed a very powerful fruit, and the ability to turn any part of the body into a weapon is really scary. Scoff. In just a moment, the maid's back suddenly bulged, and an artillery gun emerged. The fiery red muzzle indicated that a scorching cannonball would roar out immediately, directly blasting everything that was in front of it. Humph. Iron block. Boom. A huge explosion roared in the 4 fields, and a small mushroom cloud rose into the sky. A figure shot out of the smoke and rolled around on the ground for a few times, looking very embarrassed. Damn. The maid reluctantly raised her head, and there was a trace of blood overflowing from the corner of her mouth. Although she used armament hockey to wrap her back before, the terrifying force of the blow was equally terrifying, and it directly blew him away. Brush. The tall figure jumped out from the cloud of smoke in an instant. This man had already used the fruit ability and completely turned into a leopard man. He looked extremely mighty. Block this man. Rankyaku, Tempest Kick, Kai Bird. The galloping Lucci jumped, his right leg swung fiercely at a speed invisible to the naked eye, and a flying slash like a bird was instantly triggered, whistling and slashing towards the maid. Razor. Lucci was not satisfied, and then followed the cover of Rankyaku, Tempest Kick, and the whole person drew a sharp trajectory in the sky, flashing towards the maid. Don't be too arrogant, asshole. The maid shouted, Fortress of Arms. The maid's body is like a transformer, instantly deformed, and the Blink House has become a terrifying weapon fortress. 2 artillery pieces stick out from the chest. The artillery piece with reference to Hades' blueprint is completely different from the general artillery piece. It is full of mechanical feeling. The firepower and consumption are completely incomparable to the general artillery piece. Dozens of mechanical arms grew out of the maid's back, each of which carried a gun, which was not an ordinary gun. It was a 6-barreled weapon called a Gatling. Arms, legs, abdomen, and the whole body of the maid had weapons popping out, and in an instant, a beautiful woman turned into a weapon fortress, which is quite destructive to be honest. Ha 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 ha. Bastard, take it. Absolute fire suppression. In just an instant, all the weapons in the maid's body erupted instantly, attacking Lucci with absolute firepower advantage. The flames are roaring, the bullets are flying. The sound of explosions came one after another, huge pits on the ground, and the pitch-black pits began to increase rapidly. The land with a radius of tens of meters was instantly plowed by strong firepower. The bird-like Renkyaku Tempest Kick was instantly defeated by the absolute firepower. Lucci felt a chill in his heart, moved his feet, and used the razor again, shifting his position in an instant, dodging the maid's attack. Hey, bastard, wasn't it very arrogant before? Maid observation hockey locked onto Lucci firmly, with all the weapons in her body pointing where she wanted, without hesitation at all. Lucci was like a locked bird, fleeing everywhere under the powerful firepower of the maid. But Lucci's agility is beyond imagination. Originally, Marine Rokushiki has given him extraordinary agility. Coupled with the amplification of the cat fruit, leopard form, the result is that even if the maid has the amplification of observation hockey, it is difficult to hit Lucci. Damn. The maid knew that she couldn't go on like this. Her physical strength would be far more than the enemy's, and her physical quality was far inferior to the opponent's. Trouble. The maid instantly retracted the weapon on her body, and her two hands turned into two long knives, with tiny serrations spinning frantically. Weapon. Vibrating knife. Just like the cheetah came out of the cage, the maid jumped out instantly. She was going to fight Lucci head-on. Chapter 103 Hardening. Not enough power. The chef looked very laid back. He didn't take out the kitchen knife. In front of him stood a huge wall of butter, which directly separated him from the long-nosed Kaku boy. He didn't need to go all out to deal with such an opponent, by the way. It is also good to exercise fruit ability. Damn. Kaku gritted his teeth and jumped up suddenly. Renkyaku Tempest Kick, Chaos. Kaku's legs flicker like phantoms, and this man is so good at Renkyaku Tempest Kick that even Rob Lucci can't match him. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. It was like rain, like a frantic storm, and countless knife-like chopping waves cut through the air and charged towards the chef vigorously. Ha ha. The chef laughed loudly. It is rare for him to be so bold. This man always looks serious. Butter house. The chef waved his hands, and large chunks of butter spurted out from his hands. The melted butter instantly hardened, and then assembled a small house that instantly wrapped the chef in it. Ding 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 ding. Quote. The shrill voice kept ringing, and Kaku's Renkyaku Tempest Kick was completely unable to break through the chef's butter house, only banging on the roof in vain and dissipating. River of cream. The chef pressed his hands on the ground, and the turbulent white cream like a big river exudes a sweet taste, rushing away like a landslide and tsunami with unparalleled momentum. Damn. Kaku suddenly went blank. Dash 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 dash. Ow. The ferocious roar resounded throughout the universe, and the breath of the beast did not require words at all, and naturally made people feel chills. This is a memory that has been imprinted in the hearts of mankind for millions of years. Lucci was completely animalized, transformed into a leopard with a strong body, nimbly walking through the splendid light of the sword wielded by the maid. Damn it. The maid's two long knives that were constantly vibrating in both hands were airtight, and observation hockey locked Rob Lucci's figure all the time, but being able to lock did not mean that she could hit. Lucci in leopard form was really too agile. Shigen Finger Pistol Yellow Lotus. Quote. When there were omissions in the strict defense, the maid had only a slight loophole. Rob Lucci, who had undergone severe training, reacted instantly, switched to the orc state in the blink of an eye, and the deadly attack had come, pointing directly at the maid's stomach. Cut. The maid's observation hockey clearly noticed the arrival of Lucci's Shigen Finger Pistol, but her body couldn't react. Hardening. The dark armament wrapped around the maid's stomach, blocking Lucci's attack path. PFF. Armament collapsed instantly, and after that, Lucci's Shigen Finger Pistol pierced the maid's stomach like a hot knife cutting butter, and the blood bloomed like a flower. Lucci's attack is not over yet. Shigen Finger Pistol Huang Lian is not a move that ends with one blow. It seems that in an instant, Lucci pulls out his finger and stabs it out again. Due to the amazing speed, Lucci's arm formed countless afterimages, which looked like machine guns, stabbing the maid one after another, but in a flash, there were several blood holes in the maid's stomach. "Don't be arrogant, asshole." The maid's face flushed red, and the lingering anger roared in her chest. The pain couldn't shake her mind, it only made her angrier. Weapon, steel fortress. A torrent of steel instantly emerged from the maid's body. The maid's ability is to turn any part of the body into a weapon, so is the armor also a weapon? Of course, it does. Obviously, the armor also has the effect of increasing offense and defense. The armor made of steel instantly wraps the maid. The heavy weight makes it difficult for her to move, but it does give her a strong defense. Along with the maid's body was one of Lucci's hands, still in the maid's belly. Kara Kerala, quote. A series of mechanical friction sounds sounded, and the maid's body once again transformed into countless guns. Weapon, fortress fortress. Lucci's eyes widened suddenly. Absolute fire suppression. Iron block, empty wood. Boom. A terrifying explosion exploded here, and the amazing air waves spread like ocean tides, and the surrounding gravel was blown everywhere. PFF. Two figures were thrown out of the smoke and flew out in two completely opposite directions. Scoff. The maid slid all the way on the ground, and there were several bloody holes in her stomach. Her injuries were really serious. Bang. Rob Lucci slammed into a huge rock, smashing the rock into pieces in an instant, and the rubble splashed everywhere. PFF. The man couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, his body was charred black, and there was a huge wound on his stomach. Even though he used an iron block to strengthen his defense, the woman's firepower deeply shocked him. The guy who offends justice will die. This man upholding the unique dark justice completely ignored his injuries and jumped up, and the terrifying bouncing power unique to the cat fruit, leopard form exploded instantly. Razor. Several sharp trajectories were suddenly drawn in the sky. This man was like a big bird, and the speed was completely invisible to the naked eye. The man attacked the maid again. Rankyaku, Tempest Kick, Leopard Tail. Lucci, who was already close to the maid, slammed his tail, and the spiral slash, like a spiral whirlwind, quickly slashed towards the maid. Cut. The maid suddenly turned over and jumped away from the spot. Scoff. The hard rocky ground was made of paper, smashed directly by Lucci's special Rankyaku Tempest Kick, leaving huge spiral marks on the ground. Although he avoided Lucci's Rankyaku Tempest Kick Leopard Tail, at the same time, Lucci's body was already close at hand, and the strength of this man's fighting technique was really not bad. Hardening. The maid's voice was a little panicked. Rokushiki, 6 styles, 6 king's guns. A low voice sounded. Lucci clenched his fists with both hands, stacked one high and one low in the air, and the invisible shockwave directly hit the maid's stomach in the air. Ah! The almost tragic scream sounded, and the maid's armament hardening collapsed before the attack. Her eyes instantly turned white, and the terrifying impact seemed to extract every strength from her body. Oops, Captain, it seems that the maid can't hold it anymore. The chef said with some concern. I'm sorry. Vlad put his hands around his chest and his tone was a little low. So, I'm going to stop him. The chef said softly. No. Vlad said, the maid hasn't given up, she still wants to fight. The cook looked at his captain's blue-veined arm and did not speak. Woo tilde. Rob Lucci let out a slow breath and retracted his arms. Da. 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 The maid staggered back a few steps, her eyes were confused, her body was trembling unconsciously, and it seemed that standing was a burden. It's over. Rob Lucci turned around and looked at the two men not far away with serious expressions. Next, these two guys. Crack. Rob Lucci turned his head sharply, and the bullet with the wind swept past his ear instantly. Have you lost consciousness yet? Rob Lucci's eyes are dark, this woman is still conscious. Hey, bastard. The maid's body trembled, blood dripping from her mouth, nose, ears, eyes, but she was smiling wanton. It's not over yet. Where do you want to go? It's a life force like a cockroach. Rob Lucci didn't hold back because of the maid's tragic state. The leopard's speed was shown again, and it rushed to the maid's eyes in an instant, and its tail rolled directly around the maid. This time, it will make you completely unable to stand up. Rokushiki, 6 styles, the biggest round of the 6 kings. Rob Lucci said. Ha ha ha, armament, hardened. The maid laughed. Chapter 104 Give me a word. The 6 Kings Spear is a stunt that belongs to the man Rob Lucci. It is when he cultivates marine rokushiki to a very high level and is very good at all rokushiki fighting techniques. He only creates his own profound meaning. The invisible shockwave can inflict terrifying damage to the opponent's body and internal organs. The power of the largest round, the 6 Kings Spear, is even more terrifying. The power is at least several times higher than that of the 6 Kings Spear. Ordinary guys suffer such a blow, not to mention what will happen to the body. At least, the internal organs will be directly the smashing of the bang. There is absolutely no strength to stand up again. Originally, it should be like this. What? The hideous leopard's face was full of horror visible to the naked eye, and his tricks were actually blocked by this woman. PFF'd. The maid spat out a mouthful of blood, but she was smiling. What a powerful blow, even using armament hardening, is it hurt to such an extent. However, it is not unbearable. Hockey. Rob Lucci's expression froze. As a government spy, he certainly knew about hockey. The power hidden in the human body is the real and most essential power of human beings. Although it does not affect his understanding of the horror of this kind of power. Armament hockey is a piece of armor, which gives the user super defense and also gives him a powerful attack. Observation hockey predicts attacks, and it has even more greatly improved the user's survivability. Yeah, hockey, thank you too. Maid said, if it weren't for your help, I don't know how long it would take me to do this, so. Just let me thank you very well. The maid's right hand suddenly turned into a long knife, the sharp blade shone with cold light, and the tiny serrations began to turn frantically. After that, the pitch-black armament hockey quickly attached to it. Weapon, vibrating knife, black. Originally, Rob Lucci bound the maid with his tail to prevent him from running away, but now it has become a chain that binds him. He can't come to the distance, and even throwing the maid with his tail can't do it because the maid's speed is too fast. Arrive. Iron block, empty wood. Rob Lucci put his hands on his chest, and the strengthening technique of the iron block came out. At this moment, the hardness of his body far exceeded that of steel. PFF'd. But things often don't go in the direction one would expect. Rob Lucci's proud defenses are in vain in front of the maid's black blade, and the long blade with tiny serrated serrations that keep spinning is almost invincible and easy to wrap around armament hockey. Pierce Rob Lucci's arm, pierce his chest easily, pierce his body easily. The tail that bound the maid's body suddenly loosened, and the maid's right foot suddenly pulled out. With the whistling wind, it was close to Rob Lucci's head. Weapon, armed hammer. Like a steel whip, the right leg instantly turned into a huge hammer, and the pitch-black armament hockey covered the hammer surface. After all, the maid hockey's cultivation was not enough, whether it was quantity or quality, but now it's enough. Bang! Like a baseball being hit by a bat during a home run, Rob Lucci's head twisted in an instant, and even made a crackling sound. Whoosh! With a spiral trajectory, Rob Lucci's huge body was instantly thrown out, directly hitting the open space in the distance, flipping over for a while, and finally stopped. Hoo! The maid sat down on the ground, gasping for breath, and she no longer had the strength to move. Woo ha 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 ha, isn't this done? Vlad laughed and ran to the maid's side with the brightest smile on his face. It's awesome, baby 5, it's done so easily, armament hardens. Where's the relief? Idiot captain. Maid said, I was almost beaten to death, okay. How? Vlad's expression was serious. How can you really watch you being beaten to death? Yes, even if he said that the maid would die if he couldn't win, but in fact Vlad would never watch the maid be beaten to death. He was a partner he recognized anyway. Okay, why don't you protect her? It's really simple. Oh, isn't it? The maid dangled her eyes and said in a very yin and yang tone, if you said this, it would be fine before I was beaten all over my body and had several holes in my stomach. Ha ha ha. Vlad scratched his head in embarrassment, turned his head and shouted loudly, Cook, come to deal with the injured. Here comes Mr. Captain. The chef came over with a small medical box in his hand. Now that there is no ship doctor, he is the only one who has a cameo role as a ship doctor. Don't you? The maid's face suddenly turned desperate. Do you want him to heal me? Understand, Miss Maid. Vlad laughed loudly. Only this is the condition, don't be picky. I don't. Maid's head was covered in cold sweat. I think my self-healing ability is still good, let's forget it. You have a hairy healing power. Vlad smiled strangely. Let the chef come and give you a good treatment. Yeah, baby 5, you'll be in big trouble if you leave your injury untreated. The chef crouched down and opened the medical box. Okay, chef, I'll leave it to you first. I have a few words to say to the fly. Vlad said so, and just in the desperate eyes of the maid, he left. Dash 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 dash. Ah. Vlad turned around and walked away without leaving his name, only to hear a shrill scream from behind, and she was indeed a woman with a talent for shouting. Such a high-pitched voice was far greater than before the maid was shot by Lucci's 6 King's gun. When the screams were going to be more intense, he is really a potential guy, he has the potential to shout. What the hell did the chef do to her? Vlad couldn't help trembling at the thought of the amateur doctor's treatment method, which is really a bad memory. Rob Lucci, who fell to the ground, gasping for breath, and had already returned to human form. Yo, the little mouse isn't dead yet. It's such a tenacious life force as a cockroach. Lucci said to the maid before, and now Vlad is talking to Lucci again, really has the feeling of 30 years in the East and 30 years in the West. His face was a little distorted, and the man who was very difficult to move even tenaciously turned his head and stared at Vlad, Ferdinando Vlad. Captain of the Fire Dragon Pirates, it's you, right? Oh Tilda. Pulling the weird long tone, Vlad didn't mean anything strange. You saw it. Oh, I'm worried now, do you want to silence it? As you like. The steel-hearted man was not shaken by Vlad's words. Ahaha, funny, you guys are so funny. Vlad laughed. Hey, it's Rob Lucci, right? Are you interested in coming to my boat? I'm very optimistic about you. HMPH, it's better to joke less. Rob Lucci looked dismissive at Vlad's solicitation. Really, that's all. Vlad smiled and said, it's no fun to kill you, so, do me a favor and I'll let you and your friends go. Quote. Lucci didn't speak. Bring a word for the guys in my government. Vlad raised a finger, just one sentence is enough. Chapter 105 Platinum, Drager. The capital of the Seven Waters is still as beautiful as ever. No one knew that a pirate group with a bounty had visited it just 2 months ago. Vlad and his party did not cause any damage to this beautiful city. The waves, it is still as beautiful and moving as always, exuding a breathtaking and amazing charm. If the 3 members of the Fire Dragon Pirates really had any impact on the city, it would still be true. One day 2 months ago, all the well-known costume jewelry stores in the Seven Waters were killed by a cloaked man. The women swept away and sold out of stock directly. Many merchants were surprised and delighted. They were overjoyed that they had never met such an arrogant customer. They were surprised that their inventory was not enough. The beautiful Bailey was placed in front of him. It's so frustrating not being able to get it. It is a pity for many bosses who quickly prepared the goods. That high-stakes guest never appeared again, and disappeared since then, as long as a legend still circulates in the streets and alleys of this beautiful city. Who is this woman? I don't need to say more. The 3 members of the Fire Dragon Pirates have another impact on this island, a more obvious impact. For the people living in the 7 waters, this impact is the most obvious. In the past 2 months, the notorious Frankie family on the island has obviously quieted down, and they have hardly come out to bully the market. It is just rumored that someone saw them in the former site of Tom's Shipbuilding Company and now Hulk Island. In and out, it seems to be doing something. But no one cares about what they are doing. No one cares what these hooligans are doing. It is rare that these annoying guys don't come out to find something. The residents of the 7 Waters City are already full of joy. Someone will take the initiative to find their business. Hulk Island, which was originally the resident of Tom's Shipbuilding Company, has almost sunk, and only the ruins of a ship are piled up here. It can be said that this is the cemetery of ships. However, for the past 2 months, people have been coming and going here. The urban legend of the 7 Waters has not gone wrong. For the past 2 months, the guys of the Frankie family have indeed been nesting in this place, and they are indeed when you're building a boat, you're building a boat for a bunch of amazing guys. Ah ha ha ha. Frankie, my ship is almost done, isn't it? Vlad took the lead, and was not wrapped in a cloak. It was unnecessary. He was wearing a black cloak. Inside was an open white shirt. His strong muscles were exposed, and underneath was a tight black long coat. Pants and a pair of long boots, very handsome. Behind him are Chef Dino, who is wearing a white trousers and a chef hat on his head, and a maid baby 5 who has bought a lot of clothes just to try on himself or is wearing a red maid uniform. Today is the agreed day to receive the ship. After waiting for 2 months, finally, it is time to accept the new ship. After staying in this place for 2 months, Vlad can't wait any longer. He wants to be faster. Continuing his journey, time waits for no one. It's only a little more than 2 years before Luffy goes to sea. That is to say, it's only a little more than 2 years before the sinful generation ravages the sea, and Vlad still has a lot to do. Way. Ha ha ha, you are finally here. The man covered in oil, the Iron Man Frankie turned around and looked at Vlad who was getting closer. Me too today, super. Super. Yeah, it's time to make an appointment. Vlad walked up to Frankie with a smile, completely ignoring the other party's movements, and asked softly, "So, Frankie, where's the ship we agreed on?" "It's already built." Frankie had a smile on his face. It was the most proud smile. He was confident that the boat he built would not be inferior to any boat that sailed on the sea, even if it was built by his teacher. The Going Jackson he also has confidence to compare. That must be a very nice boat. Vlad had a look of longing on his face. Right, Frankie, it must be a great boat, right? Ha 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 ha, of course. Frankie laughed. Vlad, come on, come and see. Frankie led Vlad and the others to turn around in the ruins full of shipwrecks. As a well-known shipbuilding city at sea, the 7 Waters City repairs and sells countless ships every year. Similarly, scrapped there were also a lot of unusable ships, and gradually such a Hulk Island was formed. Soon, Frankie took Vlad and the 3 to the beach. A huge and simple dock had been built here, and it seemed that there was not much time. Frankie's younger brothers were waiting outside the dock, looking at Vlad and the 3 of them with a strange look, with a 3-point curiosity in their fear. After all, the bounty amount of Vlad and the others is in the paradise. It can be said to be shocking. Come on, Vlad, open the last door yourself. Frankie walked to the door of the dock, turned his head and said, "Okay." Vlad did his part, walked to the door of the dock, stretched out his hand and opened the door. The light shot directly into the dark dock, and after a short period of adaptation, the huge ship in the middle of the dock finally appeared in front of Vlad. The overall appearance is fiery red, the bow is a huge and ferocious dragon head, the dragon's teeth and dragon horns are fully visible, and 2 huge masts on the slender hull rise into the sky. Openable door. The whole ship is not very big, at least it is petite compared to the Moby Dick, but it is very big for the Fire Dragon Pirates with only 3 people. It is equipped with the energy system of the internal combustion engine, you said. How did you come up with this idea? Frankie was a little curious. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad snorted, saw it in a book. Although the power of the dragon roar cannon on the bow will increase a lot, the energy consumption is also terrifying. Frankie was a little worried. It's all right. Vlad smiled, we're full of energy. Well, the side of the hull is equipped with a soldier dock system. I have specially built a few small boats and submarines, which should come in handy. Frankie said, the rest is up to you to find out for yourself. Ah ha ha. Vlad looked at a large ship, his eyes lit up, awesome. Hey. Indeed. The cook came in, looked at the boat and said, what a great boat. It's so beautiful. The maid said so, women are always more concerned with appearance. Ha ha ha, even the oceans of the New World can walk on the ground with the ships made by Adam Treasure Tree. Frankie turned his head and said, I named it Frankie Fighting Champion. How's it going? Isn't he handsome? Super. Super. Quote. Frankie's standard model appears. No, I already have a name, so I'll call it. Vlad laughed. Platinum, Drager. Chapter 106 Island of Music. It has been a week since the Fire Dragon pirates set sail in the capital of Seven Waters. After the new ship was built, Vlad did not continue to stay in the capital of Seven Waters. All valuable things have been obtained. The blueprints and the current ship, plus the many recipes I got on the island of food, really made a lot of money. Vlad is already satisfied enough, and he can't find it anymore. Reason. What's more, they have already met those mice in CP9, and the government has already accurately grasped their whereabouts. If they remain near the Seven Waters and the Food Island, I am afraid it will not be long before there will be them. Admiral came to block the door. For Vlad, who is not strong enough, this was really not good news. There are still many things Vlad wants to do. Time waits for no one. It is very close to the most magnificent era on the sea. If you are not prepared, then you can only follow the waves of the times until you are swallowed by the waves. Dead at the bottom of the sea, this is not the ending Vlad wanted. Finally got a good ship that can sail in the new world. Vlad didn't want to sink in the waves of the new era. He also wanted to lead a wave at the cusp of the era. Therefore, don't stop there, the strength is not enough, the status is not enough, and the current Vlad is not enough to be in this world. Ah ha ha ha. It's so fast. It's super fast. Vlad sat cross-legged on the bow of his new ship, the Platinum, Drager, laughing, feeling the wind blowing on his face, and his face was full of joy. On the vast sea, a ship is galloping like an arrow off the string, and behind its stern, a long wave is brought forward like a white wave. This is the complete sailing ship of this era. Incomparable speed. Such a speed can already be comparable to the sea train seen in the capital of Seven Waters. It is really amazing speed. It is very strange that the sails of this ship have not been lowered, and they have not borrowed the wind from the sea. Wind boats have limitations, after all. Therefore, Vlad's ship, the Platinum, Drager, is indeed not propelled by sails. Although there are sails, they are basically not used. Platinum, Drager is constantly churning in the water, generating a huge thrust to continuously push the huge ship forward. Although it is a wooden sailboat, it uses mechanical power. This is of course because this ship is not just a sailboat. I have to say that Frankie is worthy of the setting of a talented boatman. A complex power system is installed on this ship. Originally, he planned to use coke as the power source, but Vlad felt it was a bit of a waste. After all, coke is sweet as energy and feels very expensive. So under Vlad's suggestion, an internal combustion engine that surpassed the times appeared. Although it is not perfect, although the energy generated and the energy consumed are extremely mismatched, it can't stand Vlad's energy. Hey! Why is the boat slowing down again? Vlad felt the wind blowing on his face getting smaller and smaller, and shouted with some annoyance. No way. The maid had a cigarette in her mouth and was wrapped in bandages. It's running out of gasoline again. Really? Vlad shouted. Cook, cook, come out and cheer. Really, Mr. Captain. The helpless chef walked out of the cabin and smiled bitterly. Occasionally use the sail, it's not for decoration. Say what? Vlad jumped onto the boat, with a naked happy expression on his face. Why not use it if you can travel faster? Isn't this a waste of resources? Chef, there is a reason. I hope you understand that waste is very bad behavior. Yes. The chef shook his head, turned and walked into the cabin. He was also a little helpless. It is also because he is not helpless. It turned out that he was on board as a cook, but now, looking at it, this man named Dino is far more than used by Vlad as a cook. First of all, as the second strongest man on the ship, he will undoubtedly be used as a combatant. This is what he has prepared before boarding the ship. But what happened next was that he was not prepared. He originally thought that the captain who had sailed in the New World would be at least a qualified navigator, but it turned out to be an old driver facing the storm going, so he took part-time job as a navigator. Although he is not skilled, there is no doubt that among the 3 people on the boat, he is the only man with the qualities of a navigator, which is very helpless. Then there is no doctor, so he who has experienced basic medical education also has to temporarily serve as a guest ship doctor. He actually became the energy source of this ship. Is there anything more fucked up? It actually became the energy source of a ship. The chef was also convinced. No wonder the captain was so happy to see his fruit ability at that time. After being charged by the chef, the speed of the Platinum Draeger was raised again, piercing the blue ocean, and no longer sailing. Hey maid, let me meet the car. No, the boat. Vlad rushed into the cab, rubbed his hands and smiled at the maid who was at the helm. You. Maid looked Vlad up and down and said, didn't you say you don't do these things, Captain? Ahaha. Vlad laughed. I want to try it occasionally. After all, this boat is awesome. That's good. The maid gave the rudder directly to Vlad. I just want to go to sleep too. Go, leave it to me next. Vlad confidently walked to the rudder and watched the maid out of the cabin. Hey. Vlad put his hands on the rudder with a smile on his face. This speed is okay. I haven't driven a car for a long time, so. Watch me drift. Vlad swerved hard. Bang. The ice sculpture of a woman that the chef finally carved out instantly fell to the ground and shattered. The chef was a little stunned and didn't come back to his senses. Well, this is. Vlad saw a button next to the rudder. His eyes began to light up gradually. Is this the wind blowing? Hey. I press. Bang. A huge sound was produced at the stern, and then the hull shook violently. Whoosh. The huge sea ship, the Platinum Draeger stern sprayed a long tail flame, and the huge hull rose directly into the sky and flew into the sky. Woo ha 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 ha. Amazing. Quote. Vlad held the rudder firmly and laughed. Bang. The maid who just lay on the bed slammed her head into the wall and let out a miserable cry. After a long time, the cook just replenished the fuel. The ship flew in the sky for a long time, and then slowly fell to the sea. Ahaha, awesome. Vlad danced and ran to the deck, laughing loudly. Hey, chef, come out and refill the fuel, we continue to fly. Fly ass. The maid ran out clutching the big bag on her head, her face full of anger. Captain, are you? It was rare for the chef to walk out of the cabin angrily. It took him a long time to complete the ice sculpture, but the moment he walked out of the cabin door, he was stunned. Well, what's wrong? Vlad, who was shaken by the maid's collar, looked at the chef and asked curiously, what's wrong with you, chef? Here is. The chef pointed to the small island not far away and said in amazement, this is the island of music. Chapter 107 Abala and the Mysterious Voice. Vlad turned his head sharply. The island not far away had appeared in front of him, and after the wind just now, the Platinum Draeger had completely deviated from the original route, and he didn't know where it went. It is indeed a very rare thing to encounter a small island with people in such a situation, and looking at the performance of the chef, this island seems to be a very famous island. Vlad even had some doubts. why is his luck so good? Couldn't be some guy running it behind the scenes. Vlad's brain hole is not small. Music Island. Vlad said, a famous island. Yes. The chef's eyes are very eager, as if he has seen some rare and cherished ingredients. Although I have never been here in person, I have heard of this place, and it can even be said that it is thunderous. Really? Vlad also seemed to be interested. Let's hear it. The chef was no longer angry, and said softly, the island of music, Abala, the most famous music capital in the sea. Almost all the famous musicians in the whole sea have held concerts here. What's more well known is that about half of these musicians are Aboriginal people from the island who have come from the island. It can be said that this is the holy place for musicians from all over the world. With a look of longing on the chef's face, all guys who are determined to become first-class musicians will want to come here to study, to compete with the musicians here, and to hold a concert here. For the musicians on the sea, to be recognized by the residents here, to be recognized by the musicians here, is the most outstanding achievement in their musical life. Vlad looked at the expression on the chef's face and asked curiously, what's the matter? Chef, do you want to give up the promising job of a chef to become a musician? That's not it. Chef smiled, I just dreamed of being a musician when I was a child, but then I chose to be a chef. Really? The cook wanted to be a musician when he was a kid. The maid looked happy. Yeah, so this island was the holy place in my heart at that time. The chef stretched out a hand, pointed to the island of music, Abala, and smiled. Look, that is the symbol of Abala, the great sculpture famous all over the world, the sound of music. Quote. Oh tilde. Vlad's eyes instantly turned into ferocious vertical pupils, and the island that was not clear in the distance seemed to be pulled in an instant. Oh. It's spectacular. Vlad said so. It was indeed a huge statue, with dense towns sprawling around a mountain, and on top of the mountain stood this statue, a statue of a huge musical note, casting a shadow in the sun, forming the highest point of the island. Altitude. Captain, do you want to visit the island? The chef said so. This was his dream when he was a child, and it was his holy place at that time. Even though he had given up his dream of becoming a musician, he still wanted to visit this island. Okay. It wasn't Vlad who spoke up, but the maid who was equally enthusiastic. I'm curious about this place too. Also. Under the introduction of the chef, Vlad also wanted to go to the island to see it. Sailing on the sea, adventure is of course a necessary behavior, then let's go and see. Yes, Captain. The maid ran back to the cabin to take the helm. The captain, I'm going to put away the flag. It seems a little too arrogant to hang the pirate flag. Chef said, after all, this is also a famous tourist city on the sea. Okay. Vlad responded, although it won't stay for a long time, let's have less trouble if you can. Yeah. The chef jumped directly onto the mast to pack up the pirate flag on the boat. Ah. Vlad looked at the island that was getting closer and laughed. Then, the fire dragon pirates have landed on the island of music. Dash. Oh, there are so many people. Vlad did not pretend, as he said, he did not plan to stay on this island for a long time, so he was not afraid to reveal his identity. It is indeed a well-known tourist city. As Vlad said, there are quite a lot of people on this island. After finally docking the boat in the port, it was almost crowded out of the port, and a short distance made Vlad. Rad had at least half a caddy of sweat on his body. Have there been so many people here all the time? Fred asked. I don't know, I've never been here, Mr. Captain. The chef shook his head. Of course not even the island of music. Abara can't have so many tourists all the time. The chef didn't answer the question, but a tourist next to him picked it up. It's because these 2 days are special circumstances. Special circumstances. Vlad raised his eyebrows and asked, what's wrong? You don't know. The man looked terrified. Yes. Vlad looked very calm, can't you? So you're not a fan of Serena San anymore? The man asked. You didn't come to her concert? Vlad shrugged. Of course not. Bah. The man spit on the ground, turned his head and walked away. Hearing Vlad's words, everyone around him involuntarily retreated a distance, and looked at Vlad and the three of them with contempt. Oh, looking for a fight. The maid rolled up her sleeves. She had just mastered the armament hardening technique recently, and it was just the moment when her hands were itchy, and every moment seemed to be beaten by someone. Go away, maid. Vlad didn't care. He grabbed the maid's collar and walked away, not paying any attention to the strange eyes of the people around him. Captain, these guys. The maid looked puzzled. Silly boy. Vlad smiled, his mouth wide open. There's no need to bother with those guys. Cut. The maid followed Vlad indignantly. The grumpy maid was treated like this and wanted to slash people with a knife, but she was helpless and her captain didn't care about such a thing. After getting out of the crowd, the three of Vlad left the pier. Vlad turned his head and said, Go to the city to find a hotel first, I'll find you later. Hey, Captain, what do you want to do? The maid asked. Well, how do you say it? Vlad looked annoyed. It seems that there is some noise over there. So I want to take a look. Voice. The chef looked around and there was a lot of noise, nothing special. I heard. Vlad raised the corner of his mouth, stretched out his finger and nodded his head, very sad voice. So I want to take a look. What kind of guy can make such a sound? Chapter 108 Singing Women and People Who Love Music. Observation hockey is really a very magical power. Unlike armament hockey, which can only be used to enhance offense and defense, observation hockey is a more idealistic power. A powerful observation hockey can even predict the future, see through people's hearts, and listen to all things. Voice. These fully illustrate the power of observation hockey. Vlad's observation hockey has also reached a very high level of practice. Although it has not yet reached the point of foreseeing the future, touching the universe and even listening to the voice of all things, Vlad can perceive the emotions of others. But it can be done. Observation hockey honestly varies from person to person. The future Kobe will be able to sense the feelings of people on the battlefield as soon as he wakes up. Observation hockey. This kind of thing is likely to be something that other observation hockey users can't do in a lifetime. Seriously, really talk about talent. Having said so much, I just want to explain that Vlad is not aimless. He really heard a very sad voice, so he really wants to go and have a look. On this island that is almost full of laughter and laughter, why such a sad guy exists? He was really curious. Such intense sadness was rare. Vlad bid farewell to his two partners and walked towards the source of the sound alone. With the existence of observation hockey, Vlad was not afraid of going to the wrong place. Gradually, the prosperous town disappeared, and there was a wilderness where Vlad was walking, and then, finally, he heard the song too. How to describe it? It was a girl's voice, and the voice was very pleasant, like a crisp oriole chirping, like the ding-dong of spring water. It was the tickling sound of a person's ears. It was really a very pleasant sound. Obviously such a wonderful voice, but the singing is completely unable to match it. I'm going, what's the deal? Vlad's head hurt a little. Isn't there any point on the beat? It's too unpleasant. Isn't it really a sonic weapon? Yes, it is the voice of a girl who is very touching and beautiful, but once the melody is added, it turns into a terrifying voice similar to a natural disaster. Vlad has no idea what happened in between. What is it that can make such a wonderful voice change so dramatically? It's not too much to use the word collapse to describe it. Vlad couldn't take it anymore. Vivi under his feet exerted force, and the whole person jumped forward. Soon, a girl appeared by the sea. That is really a beautiful girl, or, in this world, there are very few girls who are not beautiful. The dark red hair was very long, Vivi curled directly to the waist, and the delicate face had a very confused expression, and the middle of the bright red lips was the origin of the voice that made Vlad so disgusted. The bumpy and seductive body sat on the beach, the two long legs exposed under the short skirt were wanton separated, and the two hands were supported behind the back. Although she was a beauty, she exuded a decadent atmosphere. In the face of such a beautiful girl, Vlad didn't have any intention of pity and cherished the jade, and walked forward directly. I said, "Can you shut up, woman, your singing is so unpleasant." "What?" Seemingly frightened by the sudden appearance of Vlad, the woman stood up instantly with a horrified expression on her face. She looked at Vlad very vigilantly, and subconsciously covered her chest and skirt with both hands. Who tilde. The singing finally stopped. Vlad breathed a sigh of relief, and the sound that made his mind humming finally stopped. It's finally over, how could it be? Vlad had no intention of saving face for this beautiful woman. How can there be such an ugly song in the world? What? When the woman, who was still a little scared, heard Vlad's comment, her expression suddenly changed, her originally weak eyes suddenly became sharp, and even the corners of her eyes were hung up, and the whole person's mental outlook changed instantly. Huh? What did you just say? Did I hear it wrong, old lady? Who? Oh. Vlad looked at the woman with great interest, which was really interesting. You didn't hear me clearly. Then I'll repeat it again. Vlad's face was full of malice. I said, there is such an ugly singing voice in the world. How dare you say it? The woman's forehead suddenly jumped with two blue veins. She laughed in anger, and walked towards Vlad with a hideous smile on the corner of her mouth. Her tall figure was unobstructed. The woman walked up to Vlad, grabbed Vlad's collar and pulled it in front of her. Unfortunately, Vlad's body was stable and unmoved. The woman's face froze, then she stood on tiptoe, trying to make her eyes flush with Vlad. You think my singing is ugly? This woman said so. PFF. Ah. Vlad laughed. This woman is really interesting. Yeah, what are you going to do with me? He was really curious. What did this woman want to do? Mother. When? The woman was about to say something when a deep voice sounded, and the deep tone was very pleasant. Cut. The woman let go of Vlad in annoyance. Her beautiful eyes glared at Vlad fiercely, and turned away. Don't let the old lady meet you on this island again. After the woman walked a few steps, she turned her head and said harshly, otherwise, you will look good. After saying that, the woman seemed to be relieved a little before walking away without any hesitation. Woo ha ha. Vlad put his arms around his chest. This guy is really interesting. Dash. Captain, you are back. Music, Abara. The three members of the Fire Dragon Pirates finally reunited after a brief separation. Vlad laughed and walked to his two companions. Sorry, this city is indeed prosperous. I couldn't help but take a good stroll. It took too much time accidentally. Nothing, Captain. Chef smiled. We had a good time strolling around the city before. It's really a good place. Vlad agreed. Yes, such a city is rarely seen on the Great Route, and the residents here seem to have no worries. I have observed that the residents here seem to be trying to become a work hard as a musician. Yes, it is indeed the island of music, said the chef. It's the first time I've seen so many music classes in one city. Maeve's eyes looked a little excited. Should it be said that the residents of the Holy Land of Musicians? There are very few clothing stores, jewelry stores, and even restaurants, bars and hotels in the whole city, and almost all of them are music training classes. People here, I love music too much. Quote. Yes. Vlad's eyes swept across the bar, which was full of people but didn't have dedicated performers like other bars on the island. Then he saw the music training classes across the street through the door of the bar, and said with a smile, yes, it's really an island that loves music. Chapter 109 Herrick and the Concert. The Island of Music, Abala, is indeed worthy of its title of the Island of Music. It has the strongest music atmosphere in the sea. There are music training courses almost everywhere. Almost everyone here will participate in these training courses. Training. X23 US. Com updates fastest. The residents here are all working hard to become a first-class musician. The dream of becoming a good musician takes root in their hearts like an unforgettable obsession. The rest is not important, only to be a good musician. The musicians are what they really want to do. Therefore, there will be so many music training classes on this island, and there will be a market where there is demand. The residents here want to be a first-class musician, so naturally there will be so many music training classes. So that's very strange, Mr. Captain. The chef asked a little strangely. When I was a child, I heard people explain the island of Abala, but I never heard that people here love music so much, and they all strive to become first-class musicians, and there are not so many people here. It is the first time I have seen a tourist city with such imperfect infrastructure. After all, this is a city with tourism as its main selling point. Quote, I searched the whole city and couldn't find a few hotels. Some were just music training classes everywhere. It's strange to think about it. Strange. No. The maid said with some disdain. Cook, are you making too much fuss? Didn't you say it too? This is the legendary island of music. What's wrong with the residents here who love music? But. The chef hesitated. It's none of our business. Vlad laughed. Don't think about it so much, chef, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to us how this island is. We are just pirates who stay here for a while. What has changed on this island? Does it matter to us? That's right. The chef straightened his thoughts instantly and said with a smile, as expected, my childhood obsessions had a great impact on me. Ah, is that right? Are you still obsessed with your ideal of being a musician? Vlad smiled and put the 3 tickets on the table from his pocket. So, Mr. Chef, who loves music, are you interested in tonight's concert? This is. The chef picked up a ticket, looking a little surprised. Concert. Maid was even more surprised. Captain, are you still interested in music? Of course not. Vlad bluntly denied. I'm only limited to listening to music. Forget about concerts. Then. The chef was a little puzzled. I'm just right. Vlad turned over the concert ticket, pointed to the small line on it and said, I'm just interested in this Herrick company. Herrick's. Chef turned over the ticket, looked at the small print, and asked, why are they doing anything wrong? Not right. Vlad said, is it right? Why, Captain, do you still know this company well on this island? The maid looked very surprised. It's not like you. I didn't even know it. Vlad smiled, but now I understand. And the maid, you're not right. Huh. Maid was a little puzzled. What's wrong? What's wrong is. Vlad said with a smile, this Herrick company is not limited to this island, its name. Even the New World can hear it. Dash 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 dash. I don't know when the moon has quietly hung in the sky, night has come quietly, and the stars in the sky are full of endless beauty, giving the world a beautiful and dreamy feeling. Night, Oraba Island is still reluctant to be silent. The largest theater on the island is second only to the Abara Theater under the huge sculpture Sound of Music, and the Halleck Theater is still full of people tonight. Unlike the Abala Theater, where only the best musicians can enter, the Herrick Theater opened by Halleck Company will hold concerts every night. Countless tourists come for this. After all, even if the musicians who can perform in the Halleck Theater are only the first-class musicians in the sea, and ordinary musicians are completely unqualified to enter it. The 3 of Vlad are now lining up outside the Halleck Theater. Looking around, they are almost all tourists looking forward to it, but the local Abala residents are almost invisible. Boom. A deep voice sounded, and the wonderful voice that I heard when I saw the woman during the day sounded again. Oh, the time has come, said the chef. Huh, is that voice telling the time? Vlad asked curiously. That's right. The chef turned his head and pointed to the huge musical note sculpture in the distance, and said with a smile, the Sound of Music sculpture is not just a decoration, it is a huge musical equipment in itself. When performing in the Abara Theater below it, the sound can be diffused to the sea far away through this sculpture, but this kind of diffusion force makes the residents close at hand not feel noisy. It's really amazing design. Quote. With obvious admiration on the chef's face, when the Abala Theatre is not open, this sculpture is also used as a timer. There is no doubt that this sculpture is the island and a symbol of the spirit of the people here. Is that so? Vlad exclaimed, there are moving things everywhere. Just as Vlad was talking to the cook, the ticket check had already begun, and the sound of the time signal just now meant that he could enter the venue. The team was in an orderly going, and soon it was the turn of the three of Vlad. There was no such thing as the bloody things that happened in the novels they had read in the previous life. The three of Vlad naturally entered the field. It is really a big theater, and it is estimated that it can accommodate nearly 10,000 people. This is a world where the productivity is not very developed, the population is not large, and the cultural industry is not very prosperous. It can be regarded as a super large theater, it is simply too big. Science. The three of Vlad sat down one by one, and there was no bloody thing about grabbing the seats. They naturally found their seats and sat down. It didn't take long for the concert to begin. Wearing a bright red dress, the bright and beautiful host stepped onto the stage, and several huge spotlights hit her. Everyone, welcome to tonight's concert. The woman was obviously battle-hardened, and she was not in a stage fright in the face of nearly 10,000 people. She said with a smile, then, first of all, our respected president, the president of the Herrick Company, the mayor of the Island of Music, Abala, Mr. Halleck, Olav addressed us. Who? Vlad looked at the strong, middle-aged man in a white suit as he stepped onto the stage with a smile on his face. Is that the guy? Even Tessero knows the name. Chapter 110 Serena. A man named Halleck Olaf was giving a speech on the stage, and the audience in the auditorium looked very excited. After all, the other party was the president of a world-renowned music company or the mayor of this music capital. Whether it is wealth or status is an existence that is difficult for these audiences to reach. Vlad watched the man's slow speech with great interest. This man is really not simple. He seems to be a little impressed by the name of Herrick, but it is not too deep, but since the other party is well known in the world music entertainment, then someone must know him, so Vlad made a special call to Tessero. Sure enough, this guy Tessero knows this so-called Halleck company very well, and through Tessero's explanation, Vlad really understands the so-called music company's ups and downs in the field of music entertainment in the park. A generation. Even Tessero in New World has a deep cooperative relationship with them, and the relationship is still very good. You know, this is the paradise in the first half of the Great Route. The company here can actually be in the underground of New World. The world giant Tessero is on the line, and this alone shows the extraordinariness of this Halleck Olaf. Now, gentlemen. At this point, on the stage, Halleck Olaf's speech came to an end. Let's enjoy this concert tonight. Everyone, the party starts now. Accompanied by such a roar, many audience members in the auditorium immediately boiled up like chicken blood, and the sound of applauding and shouting resounded through the sky for a while, which once again heated up this noisy night. Halleck Olaf walked off the stage steadily, and soon, the first show had already started. It was a chorus band with half male and female ratios, meticulously dressed, exquisite makeup, and looked very professional. Then, the melodious singing sounded. Well. Vlad squinted his eyes, showing a lack of interest, not at all as ecstatic and crazy as the audience around him. What's the matter, Captain? The cook on the side noticed his captain's absent-mindedness and asked softly, are you on your side? Yes. Vlad said, it's not funny, these guys sing really bad. Well. Maid Baby 5 was very intoxicated at first, but when she heard Vlad's words, she turned her head and said suspiciously, Captain, do you understand music? Isn't everyone listening very fascinated? This is. Someone suddenly stood up in front, trying to squeeze out of the audience with difficulty. Really, don't block it. Some people scolded that such behavior in such a public place is really unpleasant. Hug. Sorry. The man was wrapped in a cloak, and his body was completely shielded by a large cloak. He couldn't see what the person inside looked like, but his voice was really wonderful, but he looked a little cowardly, and his voice was very unconfident. If you want to go, hurry up and go. That man was also a man, and when he apologized by the cloaked woman's sweet and cowardly voice, his anger disappeared, and he waved his hand helplessly and let the woman go. The cloaked woman squeezed out of the seat carefully and quietly left the audience. I don't understand music. Vlad's eyes moved with the movement of the cloaked woman, and the corners of his mouth were already hooked, with a playful smile, but I can also hear it, this kind of music has no heart at all. Heart? The maid looked confused. What are you talking about? Captain, I don't understand anymore. No heart. The chef seemed to be enlightened. It seems that I also feel the same way. This kind of music doesn't feel right. Although every tone is accurate, although it is meticulous and has almost no flaws, but the only thing is that it's too standard. It seems that some robots are singing, said the chef. Huh. Maid was completely fascinated. What are you talking about? Please say something that I can understand. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad stood up and said softly, I don't have the desire to continue listening anymore. You guys go ahead, I'll go out for a walk. Good. The chef nodded. Quote. The maid immersed herself in the music again, ignoring Vlad's intentions. Hey, boy, get out of the way, in my sight. A man's embarrassed voice came from Vlad's back. Huh. Vlad raised his brows and turned his head back slightly, his eyes a little dangerous. What are you talking about? No, I didn't say anything. The man who had been arrogant before became extremely docile after meeting Vlad's eyes, and his arrogant face was extremely kind in the blink of an eye. I just want to say that you don't squat. Huh. Vlad didn't even bother with such a guy. He turned his head and went straight out of the Halleck Theater. Abala in the dark night is still brightly lit. As a famous tourist city, it is even more worthy of the eve of the personal concert of the most famous music queen in the sea, Miss Serena. The island has gathered a large number of tourists at night. It is impossible for these people to choose to sleep like this. Due to the lack of entertainment venues such as pubs, the streets are full of idle tourists. A woman with a cloak on her body does not stand out in the crowd at all. After all, there is no shortage of people who want to cover their identity. Hey, miss, don't go so fast. A lazy voice came from behind her. It was a man's voice, a somewhat familiar voice. The woman turned her head in surprise, and some familiar faces came into view in an instant, and the woman was instantly startled. Is it you? Isn't that me? Vlad walked up to the woman and said softly, I didn't expect that Miss Serena, who is so famous, would be dressed like this. You know my identity. Without the arrogance of the day, this woman now looks very cowardly. You, what the hell are you? Who? Vlad Vivi Isho, with genuine malice, afraid of your identity being revealed here. Then, Miss Serena. Vlad gently took 2 steps forward and bullied the woman who was wrapped in a cloak but was undoubtedly a rare beauty in the sea. I think we need to find a place to have a good chat. You. The woman clutched her chest and took 2 steps back, looking very vigilant. What do you want to do? Don't get me wrong. Vlad smiled. I'm just a little bored. I just want to find something to do. I have no interest in you. Vlad looked the woman up and down, with a bit of disdain in his tone. It's a little too weak. Chapter 111 Star Truth. Music Island. The residents of Abala seem to regard the music business as their lifelong endeavor. Apart from the training institutions all over the city, there are various theaters of various sizes. There are few shops of all kinds, and it seems that everyone in the city lives by pointing to the music business. There are few taverns on the island, and now there are a lot of tourists, and it's night time, when the taverns are open, so this one can be described as crowded. The tavern is crowded with people everywhere. I can't wait to squeeze 20 people on a table, but only one place is different. It is a table close to the bar. There are only two people sitting opposite each other. It's not that no one wants to go to them and gather together, but the few burly men who fell at the door before are the best result. You. The woman looked very cramped, her body was a little tense, and her tone was so soft that if you didn't listen carefully, you couldn't hear the words at all. What do you want to say? It's nothing. Vlad said. I'm just curious, I really didn't think of it. With obvious disdain in Vlad's tone, is this the so-called island of music? Are the guys from the previous concert worthy of the title of musicians in the holy land of music? Isn't it too far behind? What are you talking about? The woman seemed to be touched by Vlad to the pain point, and she instantly showed a very excited look. Do you know what you are talking about? This is the most famous music island in the sea, and musicians all over the world will yearn for it. Bara. Facing the woman's excited appearance, Vlad laughed and said, really? That's not what I saw. Although I don't know much about music, I can still hear it. Those guys play without heart, right? Vlad asked so softly. Quote. The woman didn't say anything. The hand in the cloak tightly clenched the corner of the clothes. Really? You thought so too, didn't you? Vlad said, you thought something was wrong with this island, didn't you? The woman did not speak. Ah. Vlad looked very happy, laughing loudly. Although it had nothing to do with him what it would be like here, but now that he was bored, it would be interesting to have some fun with this woman. Although your singing is also super ugly, but you still have obvious intentions, at least you are much better than those guys, no wonder you are so popular. Vlad was amazed that hitting people like this often made him feel very happy. Hey, you kid, how dare you say that the song that the old lady sings is ugly? The woman's mental outlook changed instantly. Even through the cloak, Vlad could feel that this woman was completely different. It was completely different from the cowardly look before, and this arrogant arrogance was exactly the same as in the daytime. Do you really want to die? Woman took out a musket straight from her waist, and slapped it on the table with a pop. Her tone could be said to be very aggressive. If it's true, then I can give you a ride. Ah. It's interesting, you are such an interesting woman. Vlad laughed, this woman is really interesting. I haven't seen someone as interesting as you for a long time. Until now, Vlad finally determined that this woman was indeed schizophrenic and did not run away. What? Can't you tell me if you sing so badly? You boy. There was uncontrollable anger in the woman's low voice. You are really trying to provoke me. Yes. Vlad smiled. I'm really curious about what the most famous celebrity musician in the world looks like. So now you're sure? The woman's tone was full of sarcasm. What? Did I disappoint you by being such a person? That's not it. Vlad shook his head. I think you're super interesting. You have two modes for one person, isn't that awesome? Are you sick? The woman was silent for a while, then said softly. What's the matter? Vlad laughed and agreed, maybe it is. Quote. Do you really think it's hard for me to sing? The woman was silent for a while, then said softly, with obvious confusion in her tone. Hey, it's super ugly, it's like a magic sound filling my ears, it's really a kind of torture. Vlad has always been an outspoken guy, but still a lot better than those concert guys. You guy. This woman, the most famous music star in the ocean, said Serena, has anyone ever told you that you really suck? Vlad rubbed his chin with his hand, and really began to recall. It seems that there is really no. Forget it. PFF. The woman shook her head, laughed out loud, and joked, but, you know what? Everyone else said I sang very well. They say that my voice is the voice of nature. It's so funny. The tall and beautiful woman patted the table and smiled, unable to straighten her waist. It seems that I heard something incredible. Vlad was instantly interested. Are you lip-syncing? Hey, no. Is the most famous musician in the ocean a lip-syncing guy? Vlad looked very excited. What a big news. The woman didn't mean to refute. She nodded bluntly. Yes, all my honors come from lip syncing. The music that people praise and admire is not my own voice at all. Finally, nothing is real. I, Herrick Serena, is nothing but a false existence. Although she is still a stronger personality, although she is smiling, but now this woman is indeed very sad. Are you just telling me there's nothing wrong with that? Vlad said. Aren't you afraid that I will tell others about this? Ha 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 ha. The woman suddenly laughed and looked very presumptuous. Or I'm really looking forward to you being able to expose this matter, ha ha ha. Maybe it will be a very interesting thing. The woman laughed like this. Really, do you think it's funny? Vlad's mouth twitched. Forget it, what I don't like the most is to follow other people's wishes. I will help you hide your secrets. You. Woman seemed to be strangled by the neck, and her laughter stopped abruptly. You bastard, it's really annoying. Vlad smiled and said, I think you are a very interesting woman. PFF tilde. Ha 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 ha. Woman laughed loudly. I take back the forward, although you are annoying, it is also very interesting. Really? Vlad also laughed. I've always thought so too. I've always thought I was a super interesting person. Actually. Serena said softly. Actually, at the very beginning, it wasn't like this here. Dad, it wasn't like this either. Everything is different from before. Huh. Vlad raised his eyebrows. Is this about to start memory killing? This is not what he wants. God is pitiful, he is really just looking for fun. Miss, you are here. The door of the bar was pushed open, and a tall man came in, with short, thick hair clinging to his scalp, a pair of large sunglasses on his dark face, and a black suit wrapping his strong body. The president has been waiting for you for a long time. Chapter 112 Musician. Vlad watched Serena stand up, without the slightest argument, and walked to the person sent by his father. Vlad did not mean to stop, because there was no reason, he and the man named Serena. There is no special relationship between women, nothing more than a friendship that is just sitting together and chatting for a few words. Besides, Vlad has no intention of interfering in the affairs of this island, and he is not very interested in other people's family affairs. Hey! Before leaving, the woman turned her head, the face under the cloak was smiling at Vlad. It was so beautiful, the woman said. You are such an interesting person, next time you have a chance. I'll sing it to you alone. PFF tilde. Forgive me. Vlad laughed out loud in an instant, even the corner of his eyes couldn't hide his smile. I still want to live a few more years, my voyage has just begun. Ha ha ha. The woman laughed out loud without caring about her image at all, and seemed to be very happy. I don't care, if I say I want to sing, I must sing. I will never listen if I say no. Vlad replied with a smile. Ha 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 ha. Smiling like this, the woman stepped out of the bar door, followed by the tall black man who hadn't looked at Vlad directly since entering the door. Dash 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 dash. Captain, what's the matter? Why are you drinking here alone? The chef sat beside Vlad with some differences and asked in surprise. Well, why alone? Where's the maid? Vlad was also a little curious. Chef smiled bitterly and said, I want to enjoy the atmosphere of this island of music, but I don't know where to go. Really, what a dynamic fellow. Vlad sighed that compared with this maid, he felt inexplicably old, which was really annoying. Leave her alone, she'll be back when she's done playing. Vlad held a beer cup in his hand and chuckled. Chef, what do you think of Serena? Who? The chef suspects that there is something wrong with his ears. Is his captain actually interested in these sea stars? You must have heard it wrong, right? I mean, what do you think of the woman who was the most famous first-class musician in the ocean, the idol star Herrick Serena? Vlad repeated. The big star Serena. The chef said hesitantly. I don't know much about it. I only heard about this name after I went to this island. Vlad nodded. After all, this man had spent years in Tenryubito, hands, so it's not surprising that there would be a fault in the constantly updated information on the sea. But even in just one day on the island I've learned enough about this woman. Chef said. Everyone is talking about her name, and when everyone mentions the name again, it's with obvious reverence on their faces. It's a heartfelt emotion. Although I haven't heard this woman's concert, but the enthusiasm of these fans who are willing to travel from all over the world is enough to let me see how special she is. The chef said this with a look of longing. After all, this man also dreamed of becoming a musician when he was a child. It is not surprising that he has a longing for a top musician like Herrick Serena. Really? Vlad took a hard sip of wine and smiled. So, chef, are you interested in listening to Serena's solo concert tomorrow night? Oh, Captain, are you also interested? The chef was overjoyed at first, but then his mood fell again. But unfortunately, I have already asked. The concert has been prepared for sale half a year ago, and there are no tickets now. There was no regret in the chef's tone. After all, as a man who once aspired to be an excellent musician, he still wanted to see what the most outstanding musician in this sea looked like. Hey. Vlad blushed a little. He smiled and said, "It doesn't matter, chef, we don't have tickets, but many people have tickets." The chef looked a little confused. Ah. Vlad laughed. I mean, since we don't have tickets, let's go and buy a few from the people who have them. Well, it's 500 Baileys. 500 Baileys. That is the price of a newspaper at sea, which is very generous, Master Captain. Ha. The chef had nothing to say. He could only laugh with Vlad. It really is the style of a pirate. He is really a man of resoluteness, Mr. Captain. By the way, cook, do you think there are fewer people on our ship? Vlad asked suddenly. Of course it is, Captain. The chef's reaction was very intense. There is no doubt that he is the hardest working person on the ship. He has multiple jobs and lives in the midst of hard work every day. It's long overdue to find more people. Similar to the boatman, ship doctor, helmsman, navigator and other essential personnel for sea navigation, there is no one on this ship. It is really hard for the chef to believe that such a ship can still sail on this sea. So long. Really? Vlad suddenly became a little excited. You also think this ship needs a musician, right? Chef didn't come back to his senses. Music. Home. The time soon came to the night of the second day. This day started from the daytime, and a series of carnival activities had already begun. I have to say that Herrick is really a very good company. It revolves around Serena's personal music. The meeting circled round after round of money, from tickets to souvenirs to peripheral products to the current celebrations. These guys who came to this island from thousands of miles spent round after round of money for this, also a real diehard fan. Serena's solo concert was held on the top of Abra Island, one of the most famous sculptures in the world, the Abra Theatre under the sound of music, which only the greatest theatre can match. With the identity of this woman, there is no reason to think that this woman is not qualified to perform in this theatre. Vlad was standing under this huge sculpture at this moment, looking up at this huge sculpture. He was very amazed. Wow, this is really a magnificent sculpture. It's incredible. Yeah, this is a great sculpture that is famous all over the world. The chef is also full of admiration. Okay, let's go in. The maid on one side clasped her hands and said expectantly, I'm very curious about that woman named Herrick Serena. Really? Vlad smiled. I think that guy is super funny too. Chapter 113 Come as promised. Captain, where's the ticket? The maid asked anxiously. Now that the entrance has begun, she can't wait. The ticket. Where did the ticket come from? Vlad looked as if you knew why you asked. Aren't the tickets sold out long ago? Where did I get the tickets? The chef looked like you're not kidding me. Captain, this is different from what you said yesterday. Well, yes, I tossed and turned about this last night. Vlad's expression was very solemn. I thought about it all night, but I still think the act of stealing other people's things is too bad. Thinking about it all night. The maid raised her eyebrows. Yeah, a whole night. Vlad nodded and confirmed. Hee. The maid sneered twice. You've been thinking about it all night. What was the snoring that I could hear across a wall last night? Talk to yourself. So, Captain. The chef asked. I just thought, are we pirates? Isn't it too unprofessional for pirates to go to concerts and buy tickets? Vlad said solemnly. So I decided that we should evade tickets and break in directly. Go. Isn't this kind of behavior worse? The maid was a little weak. Ah. Come with me, little ones. Vlad took the lead. I am not sure if there is a surprise tonight. Dash. Miss, please look up. Yes, that's it. There were only two people in the wide backstage, a beautiful woman standing in front of the mirror putting on makeup for another more beautiful woman, with an undisguised deep admiration and pity on her face. Sitting in front of the mirror and at the mercy of others is really the big sea star who had a good conversation with Vlad yesterday. Her name is Herrick Serena. At this time, when this woman is still dominated by a weak personality, her face the above is a clear apology. Here's what the big star said. I'm so sorry, Anna, I've been. What are you talking about, miss? The woman named Anna's tone was very gentle. I have nothing. It is my honor to be able to help the eldest lady. I am really happy to be able to help the eldest lady. But. Serena's tone was a little hurried, but her cowardly personality made her unable to speak for a while, with a worried look on her face, but she really couldn't say anything in her mouth. Ha, it's so cute, miss. Anna gently pressed her face to Serena's hair with an expression that could be called a slut. It's great to be able to help such a lovely lady. But, Anna. Serena's tone changed suddenly. Even with such a cowardly personality, there was some anger in her tone. You don't have to be with Dad. Ha. The woman named Anna hugged Serena and said with a chuckle, don't think too much, miss, I didn't make this decision because of that stinky man, only you are the one I want to help. But. A little bit of tears fell from the corner of the woman's eyes. But, such an honor originally belongs to you. I'm just a shameful thief. What nonsense are you talking about, miss? Anna gently wiped away the tears from the corners of her eldest lady's eyes, and said with a chuckle, I don't have the musical talent like yours, eldest lady, your honor comes from your hard work. I just made up the last short board for you. Anna's expression was serious. Please don't look down on yourself, miss, the only thing I can help you with is singing. I can't help you with the rest. There is no doubt that you are a real musical genius. But. Serena wanted to say something else. Bang. Captain, what are you trying to do? The door to the backstage was kicked open with a kick, and with a man complaining, 3 figures walked in. The leader is tall and strong, with short hair that stands upside down and is very energetic. He has a faint smile on his handsome face. It is none other than the captain of the Fire Dragon Pirates, our protagonist, Ferdinando. Vlad. I finally found it. Vlad was very surprised when he saw Serena in front of the mirror and said with a smile, I finally found you. Serena, I'm here to find you. Vlad's tone was like that of a kid going to his friend's house on the weekend, and he didn't feel restrained at all. Really, Miss Serena. Compared to the chef, the maid, who was also a woman, was the most excited. When she saw Serena, she almost ran over to get an autograph. Who are you? The woman named Anna stood in front of Serena without hesitation and asked in a stern tone. Us. A smile appeared on Vlad's face. That's right, it seems that I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Vlad, Ferdinando Vlad. The 2 guys next to me are my buddies. Vlad introduced very calmly. Vlad, Ferdinando Vlad. Anna's eyes became gloomy little by little. Is that the Fire Dragon Vlad of the Fire Dragon Pirates who has become famous recently? No wonder I see you so familiar. Hey, you know me. Vlad was a little overjoyed. This is really rare. I spent 2 days on this island, and you were the first person to recognize me. Makes me very happy. What does the big pirate with a reward of 750 million want to do here? She is obviously a woman who has no power to tie the chicken. She is obviously afraid of death. Her legs are shaking, but she is willing to stand in front of the person she wants to protect. Perhaps, this is the so-called courage. Don't get me wrong, ma'am, I'm here by invitation. Vlad smiled. Invitation. Anna's emotions suddenly heated up. Who would invite pirates? That's not necessarily true. Vlad blinked slightly and smiled. Are you right, Miss Serena? Miss. Anna turned her head with a wonderful expression. She never thought that her always behaved eldest lady would be involved with a big pirate. You. Yes, someone I know, Anna, so. Serena's face flushed red and she said reluctantly, so, don't be afraid. Mr. Vlad, it won't hurt us. Is that right, Mr. Vlad? Isn't that a matter of course, Miss Serena? Vlad smiled. How can a guest hurt the master? Look. Serena smiled, like a beautiful little white flower. Miss. Anna looked at Vlad with vigilance in her eyes. What are you doing here, Mr. Pirate? Didn't you tell me? I'm here by invitation. Vlad looked at Serena and smiled. Didn't you say you want to sing to me again? Now is the time, Miss Serena. Miss. Anna's face changed again and again, apparently never expecting such a development. But. Serena looked a little shy, but it wasn't that she couldn't say anything. Aren't you going to tell me what you don't want to listen to? Really, did I ever say that? Vlad thought about it for a while, and it seemed that there really was such a thing. Forget it, I regret it, and I want to hear it again. I'm a pirate, isn't it normal for a pirate to betray its promise? You. Serena was surprised by Vlad's thick skin. Then, Miss Serena, I am here as promised. Vlad said, I wonder if you're willing to keep your promise. Me. Chapter 114 Uproar. Time passed, but there was silence in the huge theater. Although the audience group almost overlapped with the audience at the concert at the Herrick Theater next door last night, but now these guys are far less noisy than last night. There are 2 reasons. First, this is the Holy Land of Abra Island, the Holy Land of Music. It is said that only the best musicians in the sea are qualified to board the stage. There is no doubt that the Abra Theater can be the guy in the audience at this time. Almost all of them are avid music lovers, and they undoubtedly have great respect for this sacred place. Is because tonight is Halleck Serena's solo concert. Although the sea is chaotic, all kinds of vicious pirates are emerging in an endless stream. It's not peaceful, and people's lives are not guaranteed enough. However, for these well-lived spectators on the scene, they obviously didn't suffer too much interference, and they can still pursue their favorite stars crazily. Tonight will be the most successful show since the Abala Theater was built. At the entrance of the stage, a tall man with a cigar in his mouth glanced at the dark auditorium with unparalleled arrogance in his eyes, with a satisfied smile on his face. President. The burly black-skinned man walked gently behind his boss and said respectfully, It's almost time to start, the audience is already seated. Ha. Named Halleck, Olav laughed, and there seemed to be tears streaming down his eyes. There is no doubt, Dirac, after tonight, Serena will be the greatest musician in the sea, no. The man said, she's going to be the greatest singer in the world. Yes, no doubt, sir. The dark-skinned bodyguard named Dirac said so. Yes, the greatest singer of the sea. Olaf's voice was very low. Kana, will you be happy too? For our daughter. For your dream. Everyone in the audience, please be quiet. Oh, it seems that I don't need to say please be quiet anymore. Then, let's not talk more nonsense. Next, it's the piano solo belonging to Miss Serena. The beautiful and moving host walked off the stage in a hurry with a few words. even a little embarrassed. She did not show her excellent hosting skills at all. There is no way. If she can't keep going, then I am afraid that those crazy fans will be in the music. Tear her apart after the meeting, and compared to the much anticipated music queen, Miss Serena, this beautiful host is nothing more than a nasty time scratcher. There is light, and the theater is built under the base of a huge sculpture, the Sound of Music, and no one knows why such a huge sculpture can be built on such a not very tall and solid mountain, like no one understood that this sculpture had another function. The theater is open air. Although it looks very simple, it is a place that is unmatched by any theater in the world. A woman in a white dress sat gently in front of the piano in the center of the stage, and gently placed her slender fingers on the keys. It was at this time that a faint blue light fell from the sky, or, in other words, emanated from the huge sculpture on which the open-air stage rested. I don't know since when, this huge sculpture began to flash with colorful lights, faint, even in the night sky, it is not conspicuous. Only the blue halo was constantly flying along with the gradually sounding music, and the faint blue light was like a substance, like a blue ribbon fluttering in the theater. The light and melodious sound of the piano gradually drifted away, from the theater on the top of the mountain to the surrounding of the island, and began to diverge toward the nearby sea area. It is very strange that whether it is as far as the sea near the island, or as close as the theater, the person who listens will hear the same sound, and there is no difference in volume or timbre. Enchanted, this is the unified expression of everyone in the audience. It is like an expression that is like taking medicine, an expression that is like experiencing the most beautiful dream in the world. They can't help but indulge in the sound of this piano. What a wonderful scene this is. Hey, what is this? Vlad, who was standing at the entrance of the stage, said in amazement. At his feet there were several men dressed in black suits. His eyes were white and he had obviously lost consciousness. What is this sculpture from? That's why this sculpture, The Sound of Music, can be called the most famous sculpture on the sea. The chef exclaimed. As for the maid, she was completely immersed in the beautiful music and couldn't help herself. How is it? Fred asked. Sound of heaven. The chef said with certainty. How does it compare to last night's show? Fred asked. A world of difference. The chef said decisively. I can feel the presence of my heart from the sound of Miss Serena's piano, which is far more prominent than the sound of the piano. Ah. Vlad laughed and didn't speak. The sound of the piano gradually ceased, the blue light gradually dissipated, and darkness and silence enveloped the theater once again. Who tilde? The voice of the woman whose breathing was a little rapid but wonderfully sounded, seemed to be a little nervous. Thank you all for your continued support of me. Everyone knows that the woman who is talking now can only be the existence that he and others have been chasing, that dazzling Miss Serena, so everyone did not speak. Thank you very much. I've always wanted to tell you something, but I've never had the courage, but today I met someone who said. So, please listen to another song. After listening to it sounded like the clearest mountain spring water, with no accompaniment, no lights. The audience in the auditorium just saw a slender shadow faintly on the stage. Without the slightest doubt, this person is Miss Serena. There is no possibility of any exception. Such a wonderful singing voice cannot be imitated by anyone, just like the voice from the kingdom of heaven, although it sounds very ominous, but in fact, such a voice seems to come from the kingdom of heaven. Like the chanting of the divine envoy, with the real power to wash people's hearts, the audience at the scene fell into an unparalleled and wonderful enjoyment in an instant. The singing gradually became higher and higher, and the mountain spring on the mountain finally merged into the sea, bringing up brilliant waves. It was obviously a light female voice, but it had exciting power. Brush. The light appeared. Compared with the faint blue halo before, there is now a strong light that can really illuminate everything on the stage. The singing continues, and the penetrating singing is still flying in the theater. But even the most engrossed of the beautiful vocals found something wrong. Who is that? Who is that person on stage? Who is that person singing? The one standing on the stage singing was not the Serena that the audience thought, but another beautiful woman who she did not know. "Miss, if this makes you happy." The woman on the stage thought so. Chapter 115 Past Story. Asshole. In the auditorium, the man biting a cigar slammed a fist on the armrest. With blue veins on his forehead, his eyes revealed the ferocity that he wanted to choose and bite. "Anna, you bastard. What are you trying to do?" Quote. Dirac. In order to enjoy his baby daughter's solo concert, the president of Halleck Company, the leader of the most eye-catching music company in the sea, who sat in the audience specially, Halleck Olaf really couldn't hide his anger at this moment. "Go, kill her for me. Go kill that woman for me. This woman, what did this woman do to my Serena?" In the past, the man who had a thunderous shock on his chest but had the same expression on his face now had a grim expression on his face. Even if that person was Anna, he could not tolerate anyone hurting his most precious treasure. "Yes, President." The dark-skinned man replied softly as if he had merged into the darkness, and disappeared into the darkness unknowingly. "Anna." Olaf looked at the woman on the stage that he had always trusted so much, and a trace of pain flashed in his eyes. "Why? Why did you betray me? Even me, I can't bear it, can't bear." "But, no one can hurt Serena, that's only Serena's glory, not yours, not yours. So, I'm sorry, let it end here. The singing of the women on the stage continued, and Anna's mind was clear. The singing that could have imitated Serena's voice could no longer be maintained, and her own voice began to bloom. As a result, a completely different but no doubt equally moving song reverberated in this theater. What a beautiful song. Who is this woman? With such a singing voice, is this woman really an unknown person? The voice gradually subsided, and under Anna's incomparably moving singing voice, these restless audiences all lost the power of words and completely immersed themselves in the beautiful environment that Anna created for them. Is that so? Is that so? Anna thought like this. Is that what it feels like to be watched by everyone? Is it so wonderful to be expected by everyone? What was I doing before? I was expected by everyone, but what was expected by others was not really my part. Miss, have you always been under such pressure? What the hell am I doing? Olaf, you bastard, what are we doing? The singing gradually stopped, and Anna took a few breaths. She stood there and did not step off the stage. Under the bright light, she accepted the criticism and stares of the audience who were getting restless again. Who the hell is this woman? A newcomer to Herrick's. The charm of singing is completely beyond Miss Serena. No, her singing was exactly the same as Miss Serena, right? Hey, you bastard, what do you want to say? I'm just telling the truth. The hustle and bustle enveloped this great theater, and the tranquility of the opening was no longer there. Everyone in the audience, please be quiet. The beautiful woman in a white dress stepped onto the stage with a trace of panic on her face, but more of a firmness than ever before. This woman's name is Herrick Serena, the music star everyone expects. Serena. Olaf in the audience was shocked, and realized that this incident was not what Anna was doing. It was his precious daughter who was really doing it. What are you doing, Serena? Sorry, sir. Chef smiled, this way is dead. In front of him was a tall man who looked like an iron tower, expressionless and indifferent. Who are you? Although he is questioning the identity of the chef, he is actually speaking in a calm tone. I have to say that he is a very calm person. Who am I? Chef replied, who knows? But this gentleman, you only need to know that the captain of my family has already taken a fancy to your eldest lady, no doubt about it. She, Miss Herrick Serena, is our partner without a doubt. And it is the responsibility of our companions to make the partner feel at ease to do what she wants to do. Is that so? The tower-like man showed a slight smile. It seems that a bunch of incredible guys have set their sights on the young lady. Then, my duty is to get rid of you. He said so. Okay. The chef smiled and pulled out 2 kitchen knives. Come on. The man named Dirac clenched his fists. It was pitch black, far deeper than his skin tone. Dash 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 dash. Everyone, I have a story I want to tell you all. Serena had a smile on her face. It's a story between a man and a woman. It was quiet, and the scene became quiet in an instant. Since Serena stepped on the stage, the theater was silent. Everyone was waiting for Serena to speak. Everyone knew that what happened next would be shocking. That was many, many years ago. Serena's eyes gradually drifted away. Decades ago, on this island, there was a couple on Abala, a very loving couple. Both of them were the most outstanding musicians on the island at that time. They all believed that their union was a marriage bestowed by God, a gift from the God of music. Quote. Even they themselves think so, because boys are the best instrument masters on the island, good at all kinds of instruments. Women are super-class singers who all singers are inferior to, only they can communicate with each other. Together, they seem to be born for each other. Quote. Quote. A tall man named Olaf sat on the seat, his face darkened and he couldn't see anything. No one can compare to them, no one deserves to play with them on the same stage. At that time, this island was the stage for those 2 people, and all the musicians were pale in comparison. They are so in love, they are so compatible, they are in unparalleled harmony in heart and music, their relationship is the envy of everyone, there is no doubt about that. Later, they chose to go overseas, just as the 2 of them were about to board this theater, and immediately chose to go overseas on the eve of the performance at the Abala Theater. It is obviously an honor that all musicians dream of, but this the 2 boys and girls chose to give up. Because, the girl said, it's not yet time, she's not the best singer in the world, only when she gets such a title, only when she is considered by everyone to be the best, she to accept such an honor. Quote. Faced with the willfulness of his lover, the boy chose to be tolerant. Although he originally wanted to propose to his wife after the 2's concert was over, there was no problem, it was just a delay. He had enough confidence, both in himself and in his lover, he believes that such a day will come soon. Quote. Then, when the boy returned to the island again, the girl beside him was nowhere to be seen. There was just a little girl. Chapter 116. Sing It. No one knows what happened, just that, from this day on, the once talented and once dazzling talented musician never touched an instrument again, never performed a single performance again. Serena's voice gradually deepened, but it still smoothly reached the ears of many residents on this island under the amplification of the huge sound of music sculpture. The older residents fell into their memories one after another. Although it has been many years, they still can't forget the couple at that time, when they were the most dazzling. Boy, no, he's already a man, and he's no longer laughing and laughing. It seems that he has completely changed a person. He founded a music company, and miraculously gradually grew, and finally became the most famous music company in the world. Company. Quote. Having said that, many viewers basically know who the protagonist of the story Serena told is. After all, there are still a minority of fools, and no one is so slow that they know nothing about it. He deeply understands the importance of wealth, perhaps because of what happened in the few years at sea, perhaps because of something indescribable. It seems that there is no other pursuit, just a mechanical pursuit of wealth, power. As the music company grew bigger and bigger, and as he became the chief executive of the island, this kind of thinking gradually affected the residents of the island. Quote. The original Harmony Island began to gradually change and became richer. A lot of wealth came with the influx of more tourists, so all the residents thought they did nothing wrong, they really did just chasing music. Yeah, it's strange to say that it's all for wealth, but this trend of thought has indeed made the residents of this island fall in love with music even more than ever before. After all, music can bring wealth. Quote. So, with the wealth of the island, the man has also obtained wealth that is unimaginable for ordinary people, but he is not satisfied. or in other words, wealth is just one of his obsessions, not what he is really pursuing. The dream of a lover, the dream of becoming the greatest singer in the world. Quote. He really wants to fulfill such a dream for his lover, but the lover is no longer there. Fortunately, they still have a woman, a daughter who is equally talented. It's a pity that this little girl has indeed inherited her father's talent. She can learn any musical instrument at once, and her talent is even better than her own, but she only sings. I don't know why. Obviously the voice is not bad, but it does not have the slightest look of her mother. The singing is very hard to hear. The man is confused, his child is not at fault, and it is not her fault that he has no talent. However, he is not reconciled to the end of the child's mother's dream. At this time, another girl enters his line of sight. The little girl whose family was slaughtered by pirates came into his sight. Quote. I just heard the girl's soft singing by chance, but it's hard enough to forget. It's a heavenly sound that is comparable to the singing of the lover who's gone. So, there is an idea in the man's heart. This girl can't stop. Can you be the voice of your own daughter? Fortunately, the girl who was eager to repay her kindness did not have the slightest idea of refusing, so a famous musical girl rose up, with her incomparably beautiful singing and ecstatic playing ability. Serena said this, with tears in her eyes. The fake girl's name is Serena, Herrick, Serena, and the real girl with an angel-like singing voice is called Anna. Serena pointed her finger at the tearful woman beside her and said solemnly, It's this Anna. As for me, I'm just a poor bastard who borrows someone else's voice for his own benefit. Enough, Serena. There is full anger in the deep, and the man's anger can no longer be restrained. Do you know what you are talking about? Hurry up and tell the audience. You're just joking. This is just an Easter egg for tonight's concert. No, Dad, I refuse. Although Serena is now dominated by a weak personality, her tone is unprecedentedly resolute. I refuse. Is this kind of music what my mother wants to see? Isn't this the greatest singer that my mother hates the most? Stop talking nonsense to me, you stupid daughter. The man named Halleck Olaf jumped directly from the audience to the stage. He didn't look like the president of a big company at all, but he was closer to a pirate who had been training all the year round. What do you know? Do I still need your education? Olaf is also really dizzy. In the past 20 years, he has never said a single word to his daughter. This girl is his treasure and the continuation of Kanna's life. Olaf was about to walk towards his daughter, but he had to stop because a man stood in front of him. Hey, Miss Serena, you never said that your father has such a level of power. Vlad looked a little helpless at the man in front of him whose muscles were so tight that the suit was tight. Do you think you look like a company boss? Isn't this very inconsistent? Dad also traveled to the New World with my mother back then. Serena explained in a low voice behind her. Who are you guy? Only then did Olaf realize that things had changed that he didn't know about. You don't have to know that. Vlad smiled. You just need to know that I'm here to listen to your daughter sing. What? Olaf was taken aback. Hey, Miss Serena, is that all right? Vlad said without looking back. Can you sing already? Yeah. Serena nodded heavily. She was ready. No way. Olaf's reaction was particularly intense. Serena, do you know what you're doing? If you really sing, you're done. Olaf was right to be concerned. As a father, he knew his daughter's singing very well. Once it was sung in this place, her musical career would be over. Hey, this is not up to you. Vlad's eyes suddenly turned into vertical pupils, and he laughed loudly. My name is Ferdinando Vlad, the Fire Dragon Vlad. If you don't want to die, just get out of my way. The soaring momentum echoed in the theater with Vlad's loud voice. Vlad. Fire Dragon Vlad. Yes, it's the big pirate with a bounty of 750 million, the Fire Dragon Vlad. Chaos, unprecedented chaos began to spread in the theater. Almost instantly, the audience who were originally eagerly waiting for the father and daughter to rip the plot began to run away crying and shouting. Now, it's time to start fighting. Vlad said so. Bang. A figure smashed through the wall and fell directly under the ring. Hey, chef, isn't it too ugly? Vlad said so. The chef stood up, but his body was a little dirty, but he didn't actually suffer any harm. He smiled wryly. No way, Captain, the small backstage is really beneficial for Zone's fighting technique. A tall figure walked out of the smoke, with conspicuous white air spewing out of its huge nostrils, 2 round ears on its head, brown hair covering its body, and dark palms covering its huge palms. Hockey. Oh, that's amazing. Vlad said in surprise. Zone bears fruit. Well, this is interesting. I didn't expect that there are 2 such masters on this island. Vlad smiled. Then, since the clearing is over, then, Miss Serena, let's get started. The BGM of the battle can already be sounded. Please, sing. Mobile users, please browse Reading for a better reading experience. Chapter 117 The Singing Woman and the Fighting Pirate. Okay, it's almost there. Was an impatient smile in Vlad's eyes. Let's sing, Miss Serena. If there is no BGM in the fight, I feel like something is missing. Hurry up. Let's sing, Miss Serena, I can't wait. Facing Vlad's urging, Serena was moved, took a deep breath, and a smile appeared on her face. Okay, Mr. Vlad, since you want to hear it anyway, then I'll sing it to you. No, Miss Serena. Vlad pointed to the huge sculpture above the theater. It's for all the people on this island. Quote. Serena hesitated. Can her singing really be heard by other people on the island? Do other people really hate her? Serena hesitated. X23 US. Com updates fastest. Shut up. The angry man could no longer contain the anger in his heart, and he yelled loudly, Serena, do you know what you are doing? Do what? Vlad smiled. I'm doing what she wants to do the most. Isn't singing to your heart's content what every singer wants to do? Yes, Dad. Serena's expression instantly became firm, and she said, Mr. Vlad is right, this is what I want to do the most. What a joke, it's not like you don't know how ugly your singing is. Once you sing it, you're done. The man whose anger filled his brain suddenly forgot the absolute taboo of speaking in front of his daughter, and by the time he reacted, it was too late. Huh, what nonsense are you talking about, old man? Serena's mental outlook changed in an instant, her aggressiveness appeared in an instant, the corners of her weak eyes lifted instantly, and the expression on her face became extremely vicious. I don't care if you sing or not. Serena. Olaf's face was extremely ugly. Now that Serena's strong personality has appeared, things have already developed towards the worst. Mother, sing now. Serena took a light breath, and was about to start speaking. Ah. Vlad smiled. Isn't that decisive? No way, Serena, don't blame Dad. Named Halleck, Olaf casually undid the white suit he was wearing and threw it aside. His face was a fusion of helplessness and stern expression. Now there is only violence to stop you. Hey. Vlad stepped forward gently and smiled. It won't let you pass so easily. Boy, can stop my words. Let's try it out. Olaf twisted his neck, and his thick neck made a rattling sound. This man must not be viewed in the eyes of an ordinary company president. Hey, maid, can I ask you for Miss Serena's safety? Please. Vlad did not look back and said loudly. Please me. The maid was extremely excited, and hurriedly replied, Okay, no problem, just leave it to me. The audience, oh no, the audience. The beautiful voice spread throughout the entire island in the night sky, a very beautiful but somewhat frivolous voice. Now it's the old lady, no, it's me, Herrick Serena's solo concert. Then. Please enjoy. This woman said that she felt very good about herself. Then she opened her mouth, and the air slowly began to rise from the lower abdomen, through the trachea to the throat, and a soft sound began to sound. Dash. Oops. Vlad scratched his head as he listened to the gradually sounding singing, and said very annoyed, I regret it a little bit. Bastard, you ruined Serena. The burly man jumped up and grabbed Vlad directly with his palm in a claw-like shape. Hey. Vlad was a little surprised. This kind of speed power is not like the guy in the first half. He really is a man who has been in the new world. It is no wonder that he can develop his company to such a point. Such strength is indeed justified. Unfortunately, it's still a bit slow. Vlad chuckled, his body was like a phantom, and disappeared in place in an instant, just like the shaving of CP9 flies. The fast Olaf couldn't react at all. Brush. Several extremely deep and extremely fine cracks appeared in the solid ground in an instant. Oh, this is... Vlad looked surprised. Are the strings? Vlad noticed that the man in front of him had a few thin and almost invisible lines spreading out on his fingers. If it wasn't for Vlad's outstanding strength, he wouldn't be able to see it at all. Oh, that's not it. Vlad smiled, a low-profile version of Doflamingo. Asshole. Olaf stepped on the ground heavily, and the whole person shot out. His right hand turned into a knife, and the dark hockey covered it. His eyes were very cold. Own baby girl. Ah ha ha ha. Vlad smiled, clenched his right fist, and hockey covered it. Since you are so interested, let me play with you. Brush. Olaf flicked his left hand, and several strings wound directly on Vlad's body. This way, you won't be able to run. Run. Vlad replied, I'm afraid you have mistaken the comparison of our strengths. Just be tough. The strings are bursting. Olaf's hand flickered dimly, like the sharpest knife. Hey hey hey. Vlad clenched his fist and didn't mean to charge up, he just punched it out. Dash 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 dash. That's true. Chef looked a little helpless. There are still strong people like you on this island. In front of him was a huge explosive bear, with thick legs supporting a huge body, at least 5 or 6 meters in height, and the thick fur was enough to withstand the damage of guns. The wide slap that looks like 2 doors is definitely a terrifying force that no one wants to take a blow. In a room as small as before, the chef can't even find a place to hide. It's me who should be surprised. The huge bear said, I'm surprised that any pirate in a pirate group has such power. Any pirate group. The chef made a circle with his knives and smiled. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Shang, we are not some random pirate group. If one day, a sea that can truly be called invincible will appear in the world. Band of thieves, then. Without a doubt, it's us. What the chef said, there was a sense of self-confidence in it. Don't be ashamed. There was obvious disdain in the eyes of the huge Bakugo. The thick right palm was wrapped in a pitch-black hockey, and he directly slapped the chef with a palm. Oiled ground, slippery road. The chef slipped lightly on the ground like ice skating, and flashed a long distance in an instant. The ground was already greasy and extremely slippery. Ha ha ha, Mr. Shang, please eat a dish, roast a whole bear. The 2 knives in the chef's hand, BV, slammed, and a little spark spread toward the ground. There. The flames soared into the sky. Chapter 118. Listen to her singing. Singing, there is singing pervading the island of Abala this night, the voice of a very beautiful woman. It should have been the same beautiful singing, but the problem now is, this woman's singing is not, it doesn't match her voice at all. It's unimaginable for ordinary people, and it exceeds the limit that the human race can achieve. Is this the singing? It's so ugly. How can there be such an unpleasant singing voice? I can't believe it. Is this really Miss Serena's singing? This is her real singing voice. What we heard before was just lip-syncing, the singing voice of that lady named Anna. It's no wonder that you are looking for fake singing. Is this kind of singing really unpleasant that humans can do? It didn't take long, just a short period of time. The whole island was already boiling, under the torture of this kind of music that can be said to be a magic sound. No one could sit still, even if he was addicted to the music. He kept working hard. The Abala Island natives who were studying also walked out of the room unconsciously, with full anger on their faces. What is Olaf up to? Does this kind of song deserve to be sung at the Abala Theatre? Someone was outraged. Is this kind of singing really human? How long is Serena's vocal cords? Some people are actually curious and want to know why Serena can make such a sound. For humans, this is really something worth exploring. Singing like this. Some people fell into deep thought, with expressions similar to confusion on their faces. Although it's ugly, what is this kind of thing hidden in it? Dash 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 dash. It's the heart. Vlad was sitting, staring straight at the woman on the stage singing loudly. By her side were the maid who was having a hard time enduring it, and Miss Anna, who was full of worry. However, everything was unable to shake Serena's determination to sing. Now she has put everything on singing. It's the heart, right? Mr. Olaf, although it's hard to hear, there is no doubt that Miss Serena's singing has a lot of heart in it, right? Vlad said, although I am not a professional musician, I can still hear it. What is hidden in your daughter's singing is the so-called intention, right? Named Halleck, Olaf was lying face down on the ground, with a huge fist mark on his face. Vlad sat on his back, making him unable to move. The man who was in the music field was beaten by Vlad without the strength to fight back, and was instantly subdued, but he did not mean to give in to Vlad at all. This man is very strong. He was able to break into such a large family business in the first half not only by relying on the bear-like bodyguard, but also by his own strength. It is also possible to be a vice admiral in the Marine headquarters. But unfortunately, he met this guy Vlad. Intentions. Yes, Serena's singing is full of intentions, but so what? The man who had made a move with Vlad before, his hand knife was completely defended by Vlad's hockey, but he was beaten by Vlad's punch was full of momentum at the moment. You know what? What if there is a will? What if most musicians can't incorporate their own feelings into their music? Serena's singing voice has already been decided. The corners of the man's eyes were sparkling. She doesn't have the talent for singing, so what if the heart is strong? The so-called heart can only be effective if it relies on beautiful music. Yes, idiot, even if Serena has a strong intention, no one will want to hear it. Quote. This kind of sound was also spread by the sound of music and quickly spread to the whole island. Of course, Serena, who was close at hand, also heard such a sound. Although she was a strong personality, her eyes instantly became a little dark. Bang! The emotional man was directly kicked by Vlad and flew heavily into the audience. You bastard! Olaf got up reluctantly, his eyes as if he was about to breathe fire. The chattering is so noisy. You bastard! Vlad said. I don't care what other people think. I don't care if other people like it or not. As long as I like it, that's enough. I warn you, Mr. Olaf, I promised Serena, as long as she is willing to sing on stage, then all the guys who have the courage to say that she sings badly, I will punish him with an iron fist without hesitation. You. Olaf was speechless. The singing gradually became high, and the woman named Serena had a smile on her rebellious face, which was very warm. Listen now, President. Vlad said, this song is not just for Lao Su, you bastard, although it is very uncomfortable. I promised to sing a song for me, but now I want to share it with you, but Mr. Olaf, this song is really for you bastard. To Lao Su, listen carefully. Listen carefully to Lao Su, bastard. Vlad is like a little gangster with a very distorted expression, after listening to the writing of 10,000 words for Lao Su. Give me a good listen to her singing. Quote. Without answering Vlad's words, a man named Halleck Olaf finally began to listen to the song seriously for the first time, sung by his most precious daughter. Dash 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 dash. Is it over already inside? The chef noticed that the sound of the battle in the theater behind him was completely inaudible, and he knew that his captain had ended the battle. It was no wonder that although Mr. Olaf had also fought in the New World, he had not experienced it for many years. After fighting, How could it be possible to deal with his own captain for a long time? Really? The chef said helplessly, Mr. Shang, why are you still unwilling to fall? The charred bear still stood in front of him without any serious injuries. What nonsense. I will never fall before I defeat you. That can't be helped. Chef said, I can only do my best. Really, I'm just a chef, why do so many things? Come on though. The big bear stepped forward like a moving hill. The huge bear paw was wrapped in a pitch-black hockey, and with the whistling wind, it fanned directly towards the chef. Hey! The chef jumped lightly. Although the difference in body size and strength is also not small, if it is compared to flexibility, the chef must be above this big bear. The kitchen knife in the hands of the chef is not a precious thing, that is, the cheap one that can be bought in the store. Such a knife can only tickle the big bear when it pierces the body. It can't be at all. However, his thick fur, but if he was wrapped in hockey, it would be different. Hey! Boneless. The kitchen knife in the chef's hand turned dark, pointed straight down, and stabbed directly at the joint of the bear's shoulder. As a chef, he really knew the joints of animals like bears very well. One of the bear's hands is immediately incapacitated. What are you thinking? It's not that easy. The big bear roared, and the huge head slammed into the chef in the air. Cut. Sturdy butter, grease walls. Chapter 19 Fierce Battle. Bang. The hard solid butter shattered instantly, and the huge giant bear's forehead was covered with a layer of pitch-black hockey, which directly smashed the chef's butter wall with the force of wind and thunder. For ordinary people, the hard butter wall does not appear to be strong in front of this man named Dirac. His physique and hockey are far stronger than the level of paradise. In all fairness, even his boss is enough to compete with Marine headquarters. Compared with him, the masters of the Vice Admiral's confrontation are also somewhat different. The strength of this man is enough to become a senior combatant in the Four Emperor Pirates. There is no doubt that this man is really the second strongest opponent that the chef has fought against since he went to sea. The reason why he is the second is because the first is a Kainu, the top fighting force in the sea. Wu tilde. Although the butter wall shattered in an instant, it also played a role in buying time. The chef's foot gently touched the bear's chest, and the whole person was like the most vigorous swallow, turning into a black shadow, flashing far away. Place. Cut. The big bear looked down at the wound on his shoulder. It was a small wound, but deep, and the tendon had been injured. Although he used hockey to protect it in time, he still suffered a serious injury. Hello, are you a cook? Big Bear asked. Yes. The chef is very serious, maybe the best chef in the world. How dare you say it? You boy. Dirac's bear had a smile on his face. Man, always have a little dream. The chef replied with a slight smile, I think I'm the best chef in the world. The man named Dino said this without the slightest humility. Although his expression had a smile on his face, his eyes were unmistakably serious and serious. He has always been a person who is very confident in himself. Ha 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 ha. Dirac laughed, and the man who was originally like a ruthless killer now showed an unparalleled happy expression. You are so interesting. Are you really a very good cook? Yes, there is no doubt about it, said the chef. Ha 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 ha. Boom boom. Just like an earthquake, when the huge bear ran, the entire ground shook, enough to see his terrifying power, which was so amazing that the huge body like a hill started sprinting instantly under the impetus of terrifying power. Hello, is this the sea train? Facing the giant bear rushing towards him like a locomotive, the chef had no intention of competing with him. The power of Zone's ability really naturally surpassed that of ordinary people. Ha ha ha, it's so good, I really want to eat the food you made. The man said so. Yes, if there is a chance. A huge amount of lubricating oil began to come out from the chef's leg, and it spread on the surrounding ground in an instant. The flat stone floor became extremely slippery in the blink of an eye. Oil ground. I'd love to make it for you if I have the chance, after all. The chef jumped slightly, and the whole person rose to the sky, with a smile on his face. Cooking is a chef's natural job. Ooh! The lubricating oil spread to the feet of the huge bear. The clumsy bear was completely unable to keep his balance on such a slippery ground. What a troublesome ability. Really, it's a very useful ability. Chef crossed his hands and laughed. Sturdy butter, Lancers. The yellow butter began to pour out from his back, and almost a dozen huge butter spears formed on his back. It was extremely thick. Although it was made of butter, it was indeed shining with cold light, and it looked too very sharp appearance. Cut. The huge bear immediately sensed something was wrong. Under his huge weight, he couldn't even maintain his balance, let alone fight back. This really gives me a headache. Bang! The huge lower limbs stomped to the ground, and the huge force began to spread around. Even if the solid stone slabs had lubricating oil to share the force, they still could not be spared from such terrifying force. Appeared. In this case, it will be better. The big bear grinned, revealing a mouth full of fangs, looking extremely ferocious. Ha ha ha. The chef smiled and waved his hand heavily. Then let's take it. The dozen or so sturdy butter guns that were ready to be fired from the back shot out instantly, and shot straight at the giant bear in the pothole. Ah ha ha ha. The two giant palms of the giant bear were wrapped in a sturdy armament hockey, and they were not afraid of the incoming spear at all, and the giant door-like palm slapped the spear. Crack! The seemingly extremely tough butter spear shattered in an instant, without any strength at all. At the moment when the butter spear shattered, some turbid and pungent liquid sputtered out of the spear, poured directly over the bear, and soaked it directly. His thick fur. Hey hey hey. The kitchen knife in the chef's hand was also covered with a layer of turbid liquid. He gently issued, the two knives slammed lightly, and the flame burst out. Blade of fire. Skin. The chef glided across the greasy ground like a ghost, and instantly approached the big bear in the pothole. Don't think about it. Dirac groaned inwardly, but the response he should have made was not slow at all, and his body shrank instantly. It turns out that facing a guy like a chef, it is not easy to be completely animalized. Although the human-beast shape is slightly weaker, it is agile. Really great additions. Hey! The two knives in the chef's hands spun abruptly, and they held back in an instant. With his ghostly figure, he was like an assassin lurking in the dark. Woo! Amidst the whistling wind, Hockey's bear claws wrapped in pitch black slapped the chef fiercely. Hey! The chef then slumped down at the speed given by the lubricating oil, directly dodging Dirac's palm, and then threw himself directly into Dirac's arms. Skinned. The chef's feet turned upside down, and his body was like a butterfly wearing a flower, and it was instantly detached from Dirac's tight embrace, and he had enough time to slash a knife on Dirac's arm. Dirac is also not a cover. His armament hockey has been cultivated to an extremely strong level. When the chef cuts the knife, Hockey has already armed his body without any flaws. The chef did not use a few knives with great force, inflicting damage to him. Only a few sparks popped out. However, just Mars is enough. Don't forget, he is now in a state of being soaked in gasoline. Ooh! The chef watched the flames rise into the sky with interest. The tall bear man was completely enveloped by the flames, which must have been very uncomfortable. Roar! A roar that shook the sky sounded, more similar to a roar than a cry. Don't you? Is Zone that strong? The chef looked helpless, or is armament just cheating like this? The bear man, who was covered in flames, did not look strange at all. He jumped heavily, directly over the smooth oily ground, and came directly towards the chef. There's no other way, this time it's just a frontal fight. The chef was instantly enveloped in butter. Sturdy butter, oil giant, armored. Chapter 120 Mom's Song. The unpleasant singing continued. Although Olaf wanted to prevent his daughter from ruining his artistic life, the man sitting on the edge of the stage holding his hands was a line of defense that he could not break through. As for Miss Serena herself, of course she has no intention of ending her singing. She sings very deeply. As a musician, she naturally has a deep hobby for singing. People were suppressed and not released, and they must have been held back for a long time. Vlad's expression is very strange, a little distorted and a little comfortable. This is a very ugly singing, no doubt, even if it contains deep thoughts. It is the same, without a good carrier, such thoughts will not be accepted at all. But Vlad is not an ordinary person. His observation hockey is super strong, and he can easily detect the emotions hidden behind the singing, so facing a woman's purest and sincere mood, he can't help but feel his heartbeat. Really, it's a wonderful feeling. So now Vlad feels very strange. It is obviously difficult to hear the killing song that makes him want to kill, but it does make him feel some pleasure. Vlad is very scared. It will be turned into a shaking M, which is really a terrible thing. Compared to the layman Vlad, the man named Olaf looked more professional. He frowned and listened to his daughter's voice. Although the corners of his mouth were still bleeding, he was punched by Vlad. Zong's cheeks were still numb to this day, but that didn't stop him from listening to his daughter's singing. Singing like this, why? The man lamented like this. Why did Serena inherit my talent? Even with the most ordinary singing, Serena can become the most famous singer in the sea. Why do you have to be as incapable of singing as I am? The man thought, why not inherit Karna? Inherit your mother's talent, Serena, a useless dad like me, really. The singing gradually stopped. Serena stood on the stage with a satisfied look on her face. She really wanted to sing. Although it was hard to hear, there was no doubt that she really wanted to sing. She was able to enjoy herself on such a great stage. Singing is something she hadn't even thought about. She still remembered what the man said at that time. Dash 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 dash. Hey, don't sing now, Miss Serena. Vlad said this to Serena, who was about to start singing. What? The woman looked surprised. Isn't it boring to sing now? Vlad smiled. Isn't it too boring to have no stage and no audience? Stage? Serena looked surprised. Yes. Vlad has always been a bold man. Isn't there a best stage outside? Just sing there. What are you talking about, bastard? The woman named Anna was especially fierce. Do you know what you're talking about? Miss. Get out of the way, woman, I'm not talking to you. As soon as Vlad grabbed Anna's face, he threw it back gently. The chef was very gentle and gently supported the lady's shoulders, preventing her from falling, but not overstepping at all. How is it? Vlad smiled. You want it too, don't you? You want to sing well there too, don't you? This. Serena was taken aback by the eagerness in Vlad's eyes, and she couldn't help but take a step back. It's okay, Miss Serena. Vlad grinned isho. Don't be afraid, no one will say you sing badly, no one will. Because all the guys who dare to say this will be punished by Lao Tzu's iron fist. Hey, boy, did you say I sang badly again? Woman smiled, but forget it, your proposal is very tempting. Really? Vlad smiled. Great proposal, right? Dash 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 dash. So, one song is over, and the second song is next. Serena calmed down some of the shortness of breath and said so. Second song. Vlad said in surprise, isn't it agreed that there is only one song? Stupid man. This beautiful woman said, the song just now is to test the voice, and by the way, let the stupid old man over there listen to the wonderful singing of the old lady. Ah. Vlad didn't know what to say about this woman who lacked self-knowledge. Next. The woman's voice softened instantly, that's the song I want to sing for you. Quote. Anna on the stage looked very surprised, looking at her eldest lady. This kid. Olaf in the stands looked at Vlad like he was about to breathe fire. Huh. Vlad's reaction was particularly intense. What are you talking about? Stupid woman, I'm about to vomit blood after just listening to one song. You tell me now that you want to sing the second song. You said you wanted to murder Lao Su. Vlad's expression was as frightened as he heard that there will be no desserts for a month in the future. It was a ferocious man who wanted to choose someone. Don't tell me you're serious, I don't recognize my iron fist. People. Hee hee. Serena sneered disdainfully. The courage of this woman under the domination of a strong personality is not ordinary. Stupid man, just listen carefully. Why does the old lady care about your opinion when she sings? You just need to listen honestly and applaud honestly. This is already a very shameless request, isn't it? Vlad said so. Humph. Serena didn't pay attention to Vlad, she was calm, she even closed her eyes. There was no accompaniment, no one echoed, and without the slightest sign, the singing sounded like this, and it was still an unpleasant singing voice. Hey. Vlad looked surprised. Quote. He was a little silent for a while, and then the man showed a smile. I really thought it was for me, stupid woman. Shocked, that is unparalleled astonishment. Very ugly song, but it is so shocking. Even if you are not a master of observation hockey, you can easily feel the heart of the person who sings in such a song. It is a feeling that goes straight to the heart. This song. The man named Olaf burst into tears at the moment. Although Serena's singing was very out of tune, he could still easily hear the song. After all, this song is dash 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 dash. Hey, Olaf. In the morning light, the woman said so. Her beautiful face was incomparably stunning. I'll sing a song for you. Okay. Is it a new song? Is it a new song? Kana. The handsome young man was very excited. Make a promise first, Olaf. The woman winked playfully and said slyly. What contract? The man replied. If you think I sing well, and you feel satisfied, then, Olaf. It seemed that light was shooting from behind the woman, and it seemed that cherry blossoms were dancing. But he still clearly heard what the woman said. Then, Olaf, marry me. Dash 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 dash. The name of the song is, To Olaf.